Wonderland, and now everything is half price. From Christmas decor to stockings to hang with care. From Christmas trees and lawn ornaments to wreaths and Christmas sweaters. The General Store has it for Christmas, and it's all half price. And remember, everything at the General Store is always tax-free, and all proceeds go toward helping people in our community. Shop at the General Store, 12 North 25th, Fort Dodge, making spirits bright.
Pure brute strength. That's what you get with Midland hydraulic doors from P&R Entry Door. Midland doors are perfect for commercial and agricultural applications. When you choose a Midland garage door from P&R Entry Door, you can be confident you've chosen the toughest commercial door on the market. Whether you want a shop door for agriculture, an aviation hangar, or a commercial building, P&R Entry Door has what you need. For a free estimate, call 573-8883. P&R Entry Door online at pnrentrydoors.com.
Connect to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
In the beloved fairy tale Beauty and the Beast, Belle and the Beast learned that true beauty is found within and live happily ever after. Today, our happily ever afters are being threatened by the fact that nearly 1 in 3 children in America are overweight or obese. Now is the time to make good nutrition and physical activity part of your family's daily lifestyle. To learn more, visit letsmove.gov. Brought to you by Let's Move, the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Ad Council.
All right, listen up. You have been warned. California state regulators are working on a plan to charge mobile phone users a fee per text message in order to make phone service accessible to low-income residents. Do you know how much of your phone bill already goes for stuff like that? But a fee in California per text message is being contemplated.
Hello, and welcome to today's lottery drawing. Good luck. And here's today's winning numbers. First one up, it's not yours. Second one, not yours. And another number that's not yours. Okay, this is one number that's yours. It's a 5, but you don't get any money for that. And the final number is not yours.
Yep, so chances are you're not going to hit the lottery anytime soon. Don't get us wrong. The lottery can be fun every now and then. Just please don't rely on it for your future savings. How about this? Brew your own coffee at home instead of buying that latte every day. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering in. Ride your bike instead of buying all that gas. These changes alone can save you thousands a year. Thousands. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feed that piggy bank. Go to feedthepig.org for more free ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Straight talk on life and money. This is the Dave Ramsey Show on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
The president's former lawyer tells it to the judge. Lisa Brady, Fox News. Michael Cohen breaking down at one point as he read a statement just before he was sentenced to 3 years in prison.
He said he stands before your honor humbly and painfully aware that we're here for one reason. He said he takes full responsibility for each act that he pleaded guilty to, including those implicating the president of the United States.
Fox's Laura Ingle at federal court in New York.
He mentioned the president's tweet on calling him weak. Cohen agreed with the president and added that his weakness was a blind loyalty to Donald Trump, saying he felt it was his duty to cover up his dirty deeds.
Prosecutors say then candidate Trump ordered Cohen to make hush money payments to women. The president has said a private transaction is wrongly being called a campaign contribution. Cohen will be allowed to voluntarily surrender for prison in March. His sentence also includes about $2 million in restitution, fines, and forfeitures. At this hour, the president is signing an executive order establishing a revitalization council aimed at helping to rebuild neighborhoods ignored by Washington. It's still a mystery what sickened U.S. diplomats in Cuba. Doctors who've spent months researching the cases releasing their findings today. Fox's Eben Brown, live in Miami.
Lisa, a university-led study suggests that 25 U.S. diplomats recalled from their post in Havana, Cuba, definitely suffered injuries to their ears. U.S. officials originally blamed Cuba for some sort of covert attack, perhaps using acoustic waves. Dr. Carrie Balaban was one of the researchers.
I want to make it eminently clear that we don't know what they were exposed to, and certainly can't make any inferences as to whether it was deliberate or inadvertent.
Now, Cuba denies any wrongdoing. The diplomats affected say they all developed tinnitus, vertigo, and other issues at about the same time, Lisa.
Thanks, Evan. This is Fox News.
It's the holiday sales event at Ford. It's a big deal, and we're busy making preparations to get you the best deals of the year. Because unlike Santa's presents, ours don't just magically appear. At Ford, ours are built in real factories, where pickup trucks come with best-in-class towing and payload, where SUVs are built with available features like terrain management and driver assist technologies, and where every bolt, stitch, and line of code is tested and tested again. But you don't have to write Santa a letter to get these presents. Naughty or nice, just come see your Ford dealer during our holiday sales event for our best offers of the year. Ford, built for the holidays. Built Ford proud.
Best-in-class towing and payload when properly configured. Classes light-duty pickups under 8,500 pounds GVWR based on Ford segmentation.
California is considering a plan for a tax on texting.
The California Public Utilities Commission is considering a proposal that would charge us for our text messages. The wireless industry is fighting this, but in a report, the commission says their public purpose program is losing money, billions of dollars, and this revenue would help. The program helps low-income Californians afford phone service. A spokeswoman with the commission says those who use more voice services would pay less and texters would pay more, so it's a wash. The Cellular Telecommunications Industry Association says texting is an information service like email, not a service the commission can regulate like this. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
A no confidence vote on the British Prime Minister continues at this hour. This after Theresa May this week canceled a planned vote on her divorce plan from the European Union. Some lawmakers not happy with how she's handled the Brexit negotiations. So again, a no confidence vote is underway. One city is teaming up with Amazon to try and spoil Christmas for package thieves.
Police in Jersey City are priming some areas with Amazon to try and keep holiday packages from being swiped, installing doorbell cameras and planting dummy boxes with GPS tracking devices at homes around the city. The equipment provided by the retailing giant. Police saying thieves even took one bait box 3 minutes after it was put out. That culprit was captured. It's unclear just how much theft there is out there, but a report from Comcast's home security service says 30% of Americans say they've had a package stolen from outside their home. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
An hour to the close on Wall Street, a rally continues. The Dow is up 262 points. It had been even higher, mainly attributed to hope for progress in the China trade dispute. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Dakota City and the Iowa DNR have issued a boil advisory after the malfunction of the treatment equipment at the Dakota City water treatment plant. Because of equipment failure, the chlorine used for disinfection has fallen below the recommended levels. In Dakota City, it is recommended to not drink the water without boiling it first. The boil order is in effect until further notice. Iowa Central Community College on Tuesday became the only community college in Iowa to offer a flat tuition rate to students. The plan was unanimously approved by the college's board of directors on Tuesday. Iowa Central President Dan Kinney says the change will save students over $1,000 on their tuition.
This is going to help more students take more hours at less dollars. So we're excited.
Students will also have the opportunity to check out Microsoft Surface Go tablet devices. The new tuition model will apply to students on all Iowa Central Community College campuses in Fort Dodge, Webster City, and Storm Lake. The new tuition rate will begin for the 2019-2020 school year. It was announced that the city of Fort Dodge has not received the $7.6 million build grant that would have helped pay for the proposed intermodal hub in downtown Fort Dodge. The grant was submitted to the U.S. Department of Transportation, but Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show that the grant was not approved. Fierk says the plan for the intermodal hub will move forward without the grant.
So we didn't get the build grant. But that doesn't mean that the project's dead. There's other funding sources that we can look at to make the project successful. I mean, we're not giving up. This isn't a one and done thing. We didn't get it, so we're not going to continue. We're going to still pursue the project.
The intermodal hub would connect the proposed Warden Plaza and Cultural and Recreation Center and serve as a parking garage. The total cost of the project is $11.5 million. Fierk says the other funding options include USDA grants or loans, among other options. Iowa's 2 U.S. senators parted ways in Tuesday's approval of a new 5-year farm bill. Joni Ernst voted in favor of the compromise bill, which now goes to the House. Chuck Grassley was one of just 13 Republicans voting against the bill.
It's the small and medium-sized farmers that needs the help from the government, not these big farmers and corporate farmers that we're going to end up helping the way this bill is written.
Grassley's fought for years to place hard caps on subsidies from the government, saying the largest ag corporations and even non-farmers are benefiting the most.
I'm more than just a little disappointed, especially when the impact of large farmers being allowed to manipulate the system is that young and beginning farmers face even larger hurdles.
Senator Joni Ernst served on the conference committee that drafted the compromise. In a prepared statement, she praised the bill as farmer-focused and said it includes her provisions to reform the Conservative Reserve Program and provide critical mental health support through the Farmers First Act. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
There's AM 1400 KVFD with our allergy forecast. Cloudy this afternoon, high in the low 30s. Tonight, mainly cloudy, areas of fog, low near 25. High 33 on Thursday. Lots of clouds. Thursday night, mainly cloudy, low near 20. High 37 on Friday. Lots of sunshine. Friday night, mainly clear. Low near 20. High 41 on Saturday. Lots of sunshine. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm staff meteorologist Laura Lockwood. Right now, 29.
As the nation's leader in pork production and pork exports, Iowa's pork producers are doing things right. It's their ethical and moral responsibility. Hog farmers keep their pigs safe and healthy, safeguard natural resources, protect public health, and build strong communities every day. Pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement are roles they take very seriously. Iowa's pork producers, producing safe, affordable food. Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
The Webster County pork producers remind you when it comes to protecting their family's health, Iowa's pig farmers are some of the most concerned people around. Safe, affordable, delicious, and nutritious pork can be served for your dinner tonight. Roasted, grilled, stewed, sauteed, stir-fried, broiled, kebabbed, sauced, dipped, sandwiched in your new recipes and your old recipes. Why not buy some pork today and serve it up tonight? This message brought to you by the Webster County pork producers, striving to serve people, pigs, and the planet.
Michael Devine, when you want compelling talk.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. Boring is bad. With me now, City Councilman, the Reverend Dr. Jerry Menke, scholar, poet warrior, model for adult diapers in AARP magazines and online. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, fully clothed for a change. Jerry Menke, how are you, Doctor?
Fully clothed.
Fully clothed.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the
It's
introduction.
always a blessing to be fully clothed and in your right mind on any given day.
Yeah, we were just talking about
Right,
that. The fact that if we didn't have anything better to do, what would we be doing?
Well, I don't know.
We just,
Modeling adult diapers, I guess.
I'm not sure that would be a selling point.
That would be a biggie.
Yeah.
Biggie.
Yep.
I wonder at our age if older adult underwear includes male bras.
Boy.
We're off to a great start.
Yeah, we're doing good.
All right,
I
so
can hear
picking
that.
up where Ferrick left off last night.
Yeah.
Ferrick got a good reaming last night, but
Well, that's-
he takes it in good
You know, he's a big guy. He can handle it.
He can. He can probably
Yeah.
pound
Hey.
both you and I at the same time.
You know, the good thing about David is that he knows a lot more than anybody else because he's kind of at the center of the storm. I mean, he
That's one theory.
Yeah. people ask me questions a lot.
As
of
I
times,
look down the city council line, I can think of another reason why David knows more, but okay,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, there's a lot of shrugging going on, especially about what he was talking about yesterday, because nobody really knows much. And,
No,
I mean, between Roger and him, and it's
Well, we're not going to go IXP here.
Good, I'm glad.
But I will ask you how you feel about these unaccountable boards that make decisions like this. I mean, this is a long-standing trick, as far as I'm concerned, and not for the city of Fort Dodge. It happens all over the country. A way to shield elected representatives from sometimes unpopular decisions is to create a board.
Yeah.
Hey, let's create a board and give the decision making to them. Now, sometimes these boards are given very explicit directions. I would never say this happens here, but sometimes these boards are given very explicit directions. You're here to do this, okay? You're here to do this, so we're going to put you on this board, but you do this, okay? And I can't say that's what happened with IXP, but I know it's happened around the country.
Yeah. Well,
what do you think about these damn boards, Terry?
Well, being a member of several boards, I mean, obviously, I was unaware of the function and the history of the board until everything kind of hit. But I think these things need to be looked at and maybe reevaluated. I think they were done as a matter of convenience in years past between the sheriff and the police department with dispatch, and I think. City council probably didn't, really get involved in it because they didn't really feel like they had much oversight in it. And, these situations arise because people just, we don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I've done a little research trying to find out after I was grilled here a couple weeks ago.
Who grilled you?
You're one of your callers.
Yeah,
but
he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
The same guy that nailed Furyk.
But like I said, I can't find a whole lot of information. I know nothing about the history of the board. I always thought the function was basically, to more or less work with the fire, police, and sheriff and the smaller communities to coordinate all those efforts. And I didn't see what oversight I had because, we control the city. We don't control the whole region. And that was more or less created to help everybody on the same page, I think.
Well, we did have two police officers, the chief of police, of course,
Yep.
Roger Porter, and Corey Husky on the board. We had Sheriff Stubbs, who I believe his residence is Fort Dodge, as well as Rod Strait, a deputy sheriff.
Yeah.
And I believe he's here.
Jim isn't on the board, though.
Jim was on the and he's not on the board.
I don't think he's on the dispatch board. He might be on the telecom board.
I think he's on the telecom board, isn't he?
Well, he might be on.
Let me check.
I don't
Now
think
you're going to make me go.
I don't think he's on the dispatch board. I think
No,
Rod,
what?
I think there's two different boards.
We have a 9/11 board.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, we don't control that either, so I don't know anything about it. We're talking about things that I have no knowledge of, which is easy to do, I realize. But
Nobody knows anything on this. I swear to God, nobody really knows anything about this.
Yeah, we need maybe a 101 course.
Well, that's why I'm asking you not about this incident directly.
Good.
But I'm asking you about boards.
Yeah.
And
well,
our boards, unaccountable boards, like the Parks and Rec, for example, who fired the friends of the Olson Park Zoo, who were donating their time. I mean,
and money.
And I mean, Jim Kramer, an attorney here in town and a fine attorney, donated all kinds of professional services to the friends of the Olson Park Zoo. He was told to get lost with the rest of them.
Yeah.
There would be an example of what I'm wondering if some governmental body of actually accountable elected officials can get a hold of these boards and say, you're not going to do this.
Well, the boards are all appointed by the mayor, and the mayor has direct control over who's on those boards. Council votes on them, on the members. I can't honestly recall us ever turning down somebody that volunteered that Matt recommended.
Matt's not going to recommend me for any boards.
Probably not. I could think of a couple.
I asked him once. He thought I was a media guy.
I'd put you on something. But no, I think, the boards obviously act as a kind of a shelter barrier for some staff members that are able to hide behind the board and use the board decisions so that they don't be held accountable themselves.
Really?
Yeah. Is that a revelation?
I'm shocked.
But again, we look at the actions of the boards. Like some of them are legal. The Board of Adjustments, we don't have any control over that. That is a judicial branch. Planning and zoning, they basically respond to what the engineering and development group people do up there. And again, we take their advice under consideration when we look at some of these development deals. But We don't necessarily follow them to the letter. I think we've kind of butted heads a couple times with the boards, but again, the boards are volunteers. They have a little bit more information probably than what the council members do. And so we rely on their recommendations and utilize their suggestions more or less to guide our decisions. So we look at it, from the financial aspect and also the impact to the community, and the boards more or less look at the legalities and the ordinances and zoning issues and whatever. So sometimes it's nice to have that additional layer to kind of filter out the issues.
Should your board be filtering out issues, or should they be the final authority?
Well, I don't think they necessarily want to be the final authority. I don't
Yes,
think
they do.
I don't think a lot of them want that responsibility. Sometimes you'll have
What would it cost any member of any board, say Parks and Rec, what would it cost them personally or professionally to make an unpopular decision? Now, it could cost them professionally a little bit, but mainly they did their work and went home.
Yeah, they did. Hopefully they did their due diligence. I mean, it's
or were they directed?
Well,
were
don't
they
know.
directed?
You don't know. I mean, again, attendance at these boards isn't mandatory. They have specific requirements as far as residency, county or city oriented, and so the boards are kind
All
of.
you have to do is be in the county, huh?
And you also have to have the female male representation, and so there's a lot of different rules and guidelines. And again,
if you don't do that, you know what the penalty is from the state?
I don't know.
There is no penalty from
Slap
the
me
state.
on the finger.
A lot of cities just ignore it.
Well,
a lot of cities
it's hard.
just pick the most qualified people. Say if they have a board that electricians. Do we know any electricians? Yes, we do. Say we have a board that would a building inspection board. Other cities just pick the most qualified people. They don't worry about that Mike Gronstall construct where the boards had to have gender balance.
Yeah.
And of course he got that done, and it was all over the newspapers. Of course, the newspapers are liberal flakes, and the newspapers did not report a key feature of that rule. There is no penalty if you don't do that.
Well, those are the kind of rules I like.
That's
But again, even look at the Joint Authority Board that we're looking for the rec center development and future projects. And
I
coordination.
volunteer.
Well, that's just it. We've been looking for let's see now, probably longer than that, probably 6-8 months now. We've had the selection from the city picked down, but the county has kind of struggled, and we have to get, we're trying to get gender balance. We're trying to get somebody from outside the community. And then if
you guys are worried about gender balance, you just handed off emergency dispatch to
we
some
didn't
New Jersey
hand it off. They haven't even signed a contract yet. According to David,
yeah,
listen to your show.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, will you listen to that pile of manure? Oh, we haven't done it. We haven't even signed the contract.
Well, again,
is there
it's not
any
me.
doubt in your mind it's going to be
It's not
signed?
me. Is that going to come from council? Is that going to come in front of council, that contract? No, probably not.
Probably not.
Where's it going to go?
Exactly.
Who's going to approve it? It's going to be the board. You need to get the board in here to talk to
Yeah,
them.
well, I don't know what you're saying.
Get Barb.
I don't know why you're saying things like that. It has
That's a
no
fact.
meaning.
Yeah,
it
that's
has
right.
no meaning.
Well, you're making assumptions and you don't have the facts to back it up.
No, I know exactly. God, I just talked to Ferrick yesterday. I know you did. I'm making assumptions?
Well, yeah.
Really?
No, about I don't care. But anyway, I mean, even on the Joint Authority, I know we struggle all the time.
I mean, the
trying to
board made a very public and unpopular decision. Think they're going to back out of it now? Not sign the
don't know.
contract?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not on the board.
Oh,
yeah.
Hear no evil.
So, hear no evil, see no evil. So anyway, do you want to talk about something exciting?
Okay.
Rather, I hate to keep playing into your hand. I know you've been stewing all night on how you're going to make me look foolish.
I don't. You know.
I do it myself.
What is it now? Is the Cameo Relaxation Parlor coming back or what?
God, I haven't heard about that place for a long time. I remember that place.
The Creole Inn going to open up downtown?
Yeah, Bessie's. Yeah. No, not that I know of, although it'd be nice if we had something exciting come up.
Sorry, we can't even smoke downtown. Cigarettes.
My fellow council people are sending me texts of support. So, yeah. So anyway,
Your fellow council people?
Yeah, they listen to the show. They
Can
won't
they-
come on.
They won't come on.
They won't come on. Trust me, I invited one that you chased off here to come on today because, I told him, I said, that's narrowing it down. I said, you need to come on and help me here. But anyway, Monday night we had
You needed help. From
absolutely.
somebody.
Yeah. So again, Monday night we did have a council meeting. You weren't there again.
I was
We had
not.
several exciting things on the agenda. None of them concerning dispatch or telecom.
No, but the State Historical Society
Historical Society.
told you to stick it up the wazoo.
This is I wasn't really aware of the State Historical Society.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I know we dealt with them on 2 other issues. I mean, even the steps at City Hall, we dealt with the State Historical people.
Right.
They told us that we weren't restoring the steps according to what the historical standards were. And then it was pointed out to them that the steps that are there weren't the ones that were designed for the building. And what we were putting in was actually closer to the original design. So they backed off. So then they also, are involved in the Wakanza Annex project. We're kind of waiting for them to make a decision there. So this is really the 3rd time in about the last year and a half that the State Historical Society, preservation organization, has reared its head. I actually met with one of these ladies down at the Webster County Historical Museum down, where is that gallery? Is that it? No, Duncombe? Otho. Yeah, I know it's somewhere. One of the old schools.
Good to see you're
there.
prepared today.
Yeah, I'm prepared. Well, wasn't going to talk about it, but I met with the lady and, asked a little bit about Warden and Wakanza, combining, and it doesn't seem to be a big problem to get those 2 separated. And with the Bill grant now, which I found out yesterday we didn't get on your radio.
I broke the
You
news.
broke the news. You broke it to me. But
Ferrick let it slip.
Yeah.
He was waiting for it to give it to the messenger the next day.
Well, but it wasn't in the paper either.
Well, they should listen to the show more often, obviously.
But anyway, I sent David a text that I think probably to show the city's determination to continue the rejuvenation and revitalization of downtown, that we need to look at ways now to take the Wakanza Annex down. Now that the Bill grant is off the ground or out of the picture for at least a year, we'll probably reapply for that next year. And there may be some other funds, as David talked about, from USDA. The one thing we discovered with USDA out in Washington, D.C. is that if you go out there with a project, they're more likely to listen to you. But if you go out there with just generalizations, a lot of times they don't pay much attention because they are focused on issues. And so next March, when we go back out, we'll probably go out there with a list of things related to a intermodal transportation hub that maybe they can work on. But my thought is that we need to take the Wakanza Annex down. We need to clear that area, get it out of the way, get the asbestos out of there. We do own that. The city owns that. We do not own the Warden Plaza. That's KDG Development has that. And
KDG, who are
KDG, they're the group out of Kansas City that have that. And they were also kind of in the news last night, which I didn't see in the paper either, at planning and zoning, but we'll touch on that too. But taking the Wakanza down is going to cost a little bit of money. Taking the asbestos out, I've never seen an estimate on that, but I'm sure that that's going to be a pricey number. And knocking that building down will probably be more money than what we want to spend. But again,
write a check, Jerry.
Yeah,
You got all the money in the world.
Well,
I haven't heard you brag about your money lately.
No,
What's the deal?
It's Christmas. I'm broke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Amazon got all my money. But anyway, the Wakanza is an eyesore. It's got numerous property maintenance issues. It feels bad going out and telling people they need to fix stuff when the city doesn't do it themselves. There's windows broken, wind glass. falling.
That.
Yeah, that. Yeah. But the place is a mess. And so, that would show our intentions. And I think that was part of the Bill grant, was to get some money to knock that down. And I don't know if it was separated out, but I didn't see an exact number on that. But again, we keep hearing these big numbers for the Warden taking that down at $2 million. And I would imagine the Wakanza would probably be around that or a little bit less. So it's going to be a lot of money to end up with a bare piece of ground, which isn't good. But that's my, my 2 cents. The Bill grant was a disappointment. I met with King's staff when I was out there for a meeting for an hour. I met with Sue Ann and King's office shortly before Bemrick and the group were out there. And we had, I can say Congressman King was very supportive of the project. He made several phone calls, as did the staff. I was going to meet with the DOT official, and the word came that they were not going to meet with me because they felt like outside intervention at that point wasn't really necessary. So
they didn't really like you anyway.
They didn't like me. Yep. DOT's kind of in a different area. They've got more security at DOT, I think, the Pentagon. They got a lot of, it's pretty, yeah, it's pretty, I don't know what they're hiding.
They funnel a lot of money through the Department of Transportation.
I mean,
a lot of money.
They're nice people. It's just that they gear up and they're ready for you when you come in the door. But you're
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to tackle you. But anyway, the Bill grant was a disappointment. And again, I think we're going to reapply next year. Snyder has done all the groundwork. We felt pretty confident going in. I thought, when Matt and the group came back, when Wade and those guys were out there and Chad, they were pretty positive coming back. But, they threw us a curveball. The question now is what does that do to future development down there? Does the rec center proceed, which I think it's going to? Warden Plaza, again, we're waiting for the separation historically, and they supposedly are poised and ready to go on that, but they keep pushing those deadlines back farther and farther. So this was all one key project, that intermodal transportation hub, the rec center, and the warden, and now that we've got a big hole in the middle, and I hope we can, do something about it. But
wow.
It's pretty frustrating.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So I love guessing games. So I'm going to try to guess who the councilman you were going to bring with you today who decided not to come. So I'm going to ask for clues.
Okay.
Does the councilman have an intellectual disability? That's too wide, I guess.
Well, he's a lawyer, so I guess you could start out by saying I think all lawyers are, have issues.
Oh, Nev?
Yeah.
Oh. Nev,
I invited him, but
Nev was under a lot of pressure never to come to the show again. Nev is a great guy, a number one guy. He really is, and he likes baseball, which puts him in a special category.
Yeah.
But I don't expect to see Nevin for a while.
Yeah. Well, Lydia could come over. She's got that new job now, working at the.
She does. I expect to see Lydia. Now.
So I would imagine. I'd hate to put any thoughts into Dennis's mind, but isn't it historically? Doesn't he bring a new member of the staff to the?
Lydia was on when she first got on the council. She was on 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't really think she was ready to be on. By that I mean, she was still getting oriented into what her position was in the council and who the personalities were. But she's been on the council now for a few months, and she should be ready to come on.
Yeah.
Has she been on that long already?
Yeah, it's been a year.
Well, she should. Well, she's up to speed then.
Yeah, plus she'll come on as a new employee of the Growth Alliance, and you can grill her over the dispatch service. Yeah. So anyway,
because she's the communications director of the Growth Alliance.
Sure.
She does not have that sort of authority that enjoyed by you council people and board of supervisors, and that is something.
Yeah, it's amazing though that she apparently can listen to the radio while she's at her new job.
Yeah, maybe she listened to this station.
Yeah,
I have a feeling they listen to some Bruno Mars station over there or something.
I like Bruno Mars. He's very good. He's a very good entertainer.
Oh, really?
Not quite up in Joe Bonamassa.
It's not really in. Yeah, he's not in Joe's league.
No, not in Joe's league.
Different.
Yeah.
Different thing altogether.
I want to touch quickly on the 8th Avenue South reconstruction between 25th and 32nd. We did approve that job on Monday night. It's a $3.1 million, and it will be Wix. Did most of the 29th. I think they did the 25th too, and they do a very good job. We're very happy with them. They're going to be putting sidewalks on both sides of the street and making it a very nice street. 8th Avenue South has been kind of beat up over the years, and it's going to be a very nice addition to the south side of town. So we're hoping to get that going. I believe in April is when they're going to start. So look for a lot more work down in the south end of town, which is good. So, Yep, I know that excited you. But again, it's amazing. We ran that through, in a matter of a heartbeat, very little discussion. And we built a $230,000 concession stand, and it takes,
Yeah, what was the deal with that? I asked her about that yesterday.
Yeah.
And don't tell me you weren't sitting by your radio, feverishly listening to every word that was said.
Actually, I was busy working.
Yeah, like you need the money.
Yeah.
So, what the deal was? What was the deal with that concession?
Well, the concession stand was, the problem was that we looked at that the Monday after Thanksgiving break, and there was a lot of people out, and the city hall was shut down on Friday, and we got the agenda, I believe, on Tuesday or Wednesday, and the meeting was Monday. The agenda when it came out was incomplete. There was not any information. It came out Tuesday because I went down Wednesday, and David was gone, Lori was gone, Jeff Nemmers was shrugging because he didn't really know what was going on, and Dawn was gone, the young lady down there, Dawn Siepkin, that puts the agenda together. And so I was a little bit concerned that we didn't have adequate information about the project. And so David actually came in and rewrote some of the things. What he did on there, and I think he admitted to that, was he put metal siding when it should have been cement board siding. When we met on Monday, we had the plans actually sent to us about 10:30 on Monday morning, where we could actually look at the drawings and get an idea what it was supposed to look like. It looks like a fairly simple building. It's, got 4 walls and like a door, like a concession stand. And so we discussed the advantages of the cement board siding, metal siding. We were a little bit confused, but they kind of clarified that, I think, by the end of the night. And we decided to go with the base bid. But the problem is that the base bid and the second bid were $5,000 apart. So we have 2 different contractors, local contractors, Woodruff and Jensen. The third bid was $379,000, I think. So he was quite a bit higher than what the other 2 were. Anything we would have changed on the design, any of the alternative designs going from a concrete wall, poured wall, to a wood frame with the siding on it, actually saved the money, saved the city money. And that would have changed the award recipient. So there was a little bit of discussion about that. I didn't feel like the frame wall would hold up as well.
You didn't feel that way?
No, even with the siding, with the cement board siding. I've got cement board on my office and it delaminates. And I know that this new
You don't know what the hell's going on over the telecom board or the emergency
I know a lot about
dispatch.
construction.
But you're a construction engineer now.
Yep, I'm a construction engineer.
But when you're not being an optometrist.
Yep. So there was some concern about the roof, I guess, and Lori actually was able to reach out and had a structural engineer look at the roof design and determine that the roof would stay on. So Matt, when he came in, he wasn't at the meeting Monday night, a week ago, whatever it was. And he vetoed it, thinking that we needed more information. Well, we had additional discussions and more conversation about it. There was actually a sample shown to us. The designer came again. We did have a updated drawing from Jensen Builders that was presented to us on the agenda with their logo on the drawing. Even though the Parks and Rec had hired a designer to do it, we got another drawing unsolicited, as far as I know. And
did the Parks and Rec board fire the guy after that?
Parks and Rec board apparently was not consulted on this. So,
what?
So, yeah.
They just bring them in when the axe has to fall.
But anyway, the design that was submitted as an alternative bid did not accurately reflect the construction of the building. We felt very comfortable with the fact that, the concrete walls were more stable and I think better looking than what the frame wall was, because the designer told us the frame wall would have open studs on the inside. So it'd just basically be, concrete board on the outside with open studs, which to me in a concession stand, when you got food items and, cleanliness is an issue, I didn't think that would be the ideal look. And so we voted. Jeff wasn't there. Halter wasn't there on Monday. But
where was he at? Was he avoiding you too? Or?
Probably, yeah.
He's avoiding me. I'll tell you.
But anyway, our discussion was pretty simple, and we stuck with what we had voted on previously, and we went 6-0, and we overrode the mayor's veto.
You just stomped on Bemrick.
Well, I didn't say stomp. He just didn't feel like maybe we had all the information that we needed. And I understand his concerns, but I think we were adequately informed.
Oh,
and that's the way we voted.
The migrant caravan that is heading towards it's stuck in Tijuana now. 6,000 migrants. They apparently it all occurred to them at the same time to march north. So, no planning or organization in this at all.
No.
And we still don't know because the newspapers are too busy bleeding all over with sympathy for these migrants who apparently again just woke up one day simultaneously, 6,000 people, and marched north. They are demanding $50,000 apiece to return home.
Oh, from who?
From the U.S. consulate in Mexico in Tijuana.
Oh.
And the consulate could probably get their money from Trump because he's
write him a check. Write him a
you.
check.
And they're also calling for an end to deportation. So they want $50,000 to maybe go home and then the right to come here anytime they want without being
They
deported.
want to go back first class.
Yeah, God, that sounds like a contest to me in the making, a local contest. Which public official should we give $50,000 to and deport them in some way?
Maybe we could have a corn kernel vote.
Corn kernel vote. Oh God, down the Iowa State, that is so boring. I talked with Dave Price down there at the WHO television tent, and he said that at the time that Fred Hubbell was running pretty strong. Dave was in the corn kernel vote, I guess, was 100% incorrect. Anyway, again, Dr. Terry Menke, city councilman, poet, warrior scholar, and adult diaper model, is in the studio, and we'll be back.
Divine Intervention at AM 1400 KVFD, where Fort Dodge talk.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's where we are, AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yeah, Terry Menke is here. If you have a question or comment for Dr. Menke, he'll be glad to answer that question right after the news and weather that is coming up as Divine Intervention continues at AM 1400 KVFD.
Hi, this is Stacy Weirda, broker owner of Neighborhood Realty. Are you thinking about selling your home but not sure who to list with? Well, I have an amazing team of agents with years of experience in 2 locations, all devoted to your real estate needs. Neighborhood Realty covers a vast market area, and that's not all. At Neighborhood Realty, we'll list it, we'll sell it, and you'll move on. Find our information online at neighborhood-realty.net and make sure to follow us on Facebook.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagon with the KVFD Afternoon News. Dakota City and the Iowa DNR have issued a boil advisory after the malfunction of the treatment equipment at the Dakota City water treatment plant. Because of equipment failure, the chlorine used for disinfection has fallen below the recommended levels. In Dakota City, it is recommended to not drink the water without boiling it first. The boil order is in effect until further notice. Iowa Central Community College on Tuesday became the only community college in Iowa to offer a flat tuition rate to students. The plan was unanimously approved by the college's board of directors on Tuesday. Iowa Central President Dan Kinney says the change will save students over $1,000 on their tuition.
This is going to help more students take more hours at less dollars. So we're excited.
Students will also have the opportunity to check out Microsoft Surface Go tablet devices. The new tuition model will apply to students on all Iowa Central Community College campuses in Fort Dodge, Webster City, and Storm Lake. The new tuition rate will begin for the 2019-2020 school year. It was announced that the city of Fort Dodge has not received the $7.6 million build grant that would have helped pay for the proposed intermodal hub in downtown Fort Dodge. The grant was submitted to the U.S. Department of Transportation, but Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show that the grant was not approved. Fierk says the plan for the intermodal hub will move forward without the grant.
So we didn't get the build grant. But that doesn't mean that the project's dead. There's other funding sources that we can look at to make the project successful. I mean, we're not giving up. This isn't a one and done thing. We didn't get it, so we're not going to continue. We're going to still pursue the project.
The intermodal hub would connect the proposed Warden Plaza and Cultural and Recreation Center and serve as a parking garage. The total cost of the project is $11.5 million. Fierk says the other funding options include USDA grants or loans, among other options. Iowa's 2 U.S. senators parted ways in Tuesday's approval of a new 5-year farm bill. Joni Ernst voted in favor of the compromise bill, which now goes to the House. Chuck Grassley was one of just 13 Republicans voting against the bill.
It's the small and medium-sized farmers that needs the help from the government, not these big farmers and corporate farmers that we're going to end up helping the way this bill is written.
Grassley's fought for years to place hard caps on subsidies from the government, saying the largest ag corporations and even non-farmers are benefiting the most.
I'm more than just a little disappointed, especially when the impact of large farmers being allowed to manipulate the system is that young and beginning farmers face even larger hurdles.
Senator Joni Ernst served on the conference committee that drafted the compromise. In a prepared statement, she praised the bill as farmer-focused and said it includes her provisions to reform the Conservative Reserve Program and provide critical mental health support through the Farmers First Act. This has been Alex Benzagon with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 2:39. Let's take a look at the weather. What do you say? I don't know what's gotten into me here lately. I've forgot to call up the weather forecast on my computer screen just as I open the microphone, and it's getting to be a problem. But I think with the doctor of optometry here, I'm sure he can figure something out for me and cure me of this malady. 32 degrees and overcast right now. Fog later on this evening. Our high will be 32, which again is where we're at right now. Overnight, again, fog, otherwise cloudy. Tomorrow, cloudy with a high of 33. Friday, sunny with a high of 37. Saturday, sunny with a high of 41. On Sunday, it'll be sunny with a high of 39. On Monday, sunny with a high of 35. Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high of 38 degrees. Right now, 32 degrees at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Clem Clemens has died. Warren Clemens, 88 years old, died on Monday. There will be a mass of Christian burial held at 10:30 in the morning Saturday at Corpus Christi Church for Warren Clemens. Dale Fitzgerald of Manson has died at the age of 60. He was living in Des Moines as of late. He died at the Paula J. Baber Hospice Home. There will be funeral services for Dale Fitzgerald of Manson, and that'll be this Saturday at 11 at St. Thomas Catholic Church in Manson. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 241, 32 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn up 1 1/4 at 376 1/4. March up a half a penny at 385 1/4. May corn up a half a penny at 392 3/4. And July corn unchanged at 398 3/4. January soybeans up a nickel at 9.20. March up a nickel at 9.33 1/4. May up 4 3/4 at 9.45 3/4. July up 4 1/2 at 9.57 1/4. December wheat closed up 5 1/2 at 5.15 1/4. Soybean meal up 1.90 a ton at 3.10.80. December live cattle up 75 cents at 119.12. February up 75 at 122.90. January feeder cattle up 27 cents at 147.57. March up 37 at 145.27. December lean hogs up 27 cents at 54.72. February up 50 cents at 65.70. From the farm desk, I am Dwayne Murley.
What if every time you went out, you could cash in? Now with the Capital One Saver Card, you earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, like their first taste of guacamole. Ew, gross. Ugh. And 4% cash back when you take your kids to the museum for the first time.
Whoa, buddy, don't touch that.
No matter your reason for going out, now you have 4 more. Introducing the new Saver Card from Capital One. Earn 4% on dining and 4% on entertainment. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Capital One Bank, USA, N.A.
Take the worry out of winter with a winter weather advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the winter weather advisor on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Guys, the secret is out. If you want healthy intimacy, your body needs nitric oxide. And now you can boost your nitric oxide production faster than you thought possible with Ageless Male Tonight, the absurdly fast formula from the #1 brand in male enhancement. Just take 1 capsule an hour before romantic activity. You'll get clinically tested ingredients that rapidly boost nitric oxide production, and it won't go unnoticed. Ageless Male Tonight has already taken Rite Aid by storm, but you can get started by having 5 doses delivered right to your door. No questionnaires, no online tests. Just call 1-800-460-0980. After a long back order, Ageless Male Tonight is finally back in stock. To try your 5 doses, just call 1-800-460-0980. If results are too intense, please decrease use. 1-800-460-0980. 1-800-460-0980.
Michael Devine. A lot of people like that show. But because you need more than a newspaper.
Email, online, surfing the web, HTML, good buddy.
At AM 1400 KVFD.
Shut up! Shut up and take the pain.
Take the pain! Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Do you ever get tired of watching bad things happen to people?
Sticking up for you when no one else will.
Woo, good.
That's right, sticking up for you when nobody else will. That's for sure. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Merry Christmas. I'm Michael Devine, and again with me is poet, scholar, and warrior Terry Minke, and he just happens to be an optometrist and a city councilman and the best-looking, smartest guy in the whole world. And
at least in this room.
At least, well, I wouldn't give it that much.
You just had your haircut, though. So
I just did have my
you're
haircut.
looking spiffy.
What do you think you have? Because you
Real
have more
cream.
hair. Actually, I have more hair in my chest than you do,
I was gonna
and
say
on my
that.
back too.
Yeah, probably. Boy, that's details.
Did you? Oh, that's right.
TMI, is that what they say? TMI.
I don't know. You know, I never paid attention to that TMI thing. It sounds like some sort of ear infection.
Yeah, it could
You know?
be.
All right.
Yep. I wanted that, as part of the Christmas spirit, we did meet out at the prison last week. We gave them our dinner. Well, no, this is a good story. I know.
You ready for a good story?
I'm ready for a good story.
Did you give him some porno?
No. I threatened, but no,
You
they
threatened?
They do all of our packing for us. But when we were out there, they had previously given me $1,000 to distribute in the community to people that needed help.
prisoners did?
The offenders, as we call them, and they handed me an additional.
Well, you can refer to him as you wish.
Yeah,
but okay.
I do. Yeah, the offenders. And they handed me another $1,000 last week. So that's $2,000 they handed me to distribute in the community. And they also gave us about $4,500 for Sertoma to support our project. So these are different organizations and groups out there. And obviously these guys don't make a lot of money, but they care.
I was going to say, how much do they make?
I don't know, but they sell pizzas. Rockwell City does ice cream. Rockwell City's contributed, but we were able to distribute 40 turkeys and hams through
that's right.
Pleasant Valley.
They still have that prison in Rockwell City.
Yep, they do. I was just over there for Veterans Day.
Mm.
We paid off $1,000 in past due water bills down at City Hall. We gave $250 to Duncombe and $250 to Butler to utilize for students that may need something over the wintertime. So again, in the spirit of giving, I think that's very important to recognize, and we really appreciate the work that the prison does in the community. There's 1,300 guys out there and a lot of correctional officers, and we appreciate everything they do. And I know they don't get much recognition. People don't like to talk about them, especially you.
I like to talk about them.
You do? Okay. But a couple other things that came
What do you
up.
say?
Well, it's just, you need to come out there sometime with us, and I'll introduce you to some of the guys.
Some of the guys?
Yeah, some of the guys. There's some interesting personalities out there.
You don't have any real friends, do you?
No, I don't.
So you go to prison.
I was told one time I had to be cremated because I don't have enough friends to carry me. So, yep. So anyway, we did do the housing trust that was accepted. You probably saw the article in the paper, our fine messenger that you love dearly. $217,000. It's going to be Hamilton County, Webster County. And we did contribute a little bit of money to that to get it up and going. And now it's going to come back to the community. They have several different application processes, money available for roofs and, water heaters, based more or less on income and need, kind of slanted towards the elderly like you. That may not have a source of income on fixed income, but the roof is the primary.
I'm on a fixed income. I haven't had a raise in years.
Yeah, I know it. Me too. But anyway, the roofs on a lot of these houses, there is assistance for windows and some siding and whatever through some different programs, but without the roof being fixed, it's a little bit more difficult. So this will actually offer an opportunity to improve the look of our housing in the Webster City and Hamilton County and Fort Dodge and surrounding communities that want to contribute to the process. So it's been a exciting, I think, development. I know that Vicky Reek and Paige Wheeler for the city have worked on this real hard, and Councilman Allstott stepped up and has been involved in this quite a bit too over the last few months. And this just kind of came down, and it was exciting to see the money come back to our area.
Came down.
Yep. So we're happy to see that. The new water plant, the reverse osmosis treatment, will be on the agenda for Monday night. Again, we're meeting on the 17th, which is next Monday again. They are going to look at I think we're holding a public hearing for the plans and bids on that, and it's going to be exciting to get that plant up and operational. Again, that's not going to soften your water, but it will reduce the water hardness, and it will take it down so your water softener will be adjusted so that you won't use as much salt, which is going to prevent the drop the chloride levels down quite a bit, which is going to satisfy the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, which says we're dumping too much chlorine into the Des Moines River. This plant is going to be $7 a month on your water bill over a period of time. I think it's $3.50 and $3.50 over the next couple of years. But again, for a bag of salt that you're going to save, it's going to be a kind of a wash. We don't think this is really going to be an expense to the taxpayers. It's going to extend the life of your water heaters, your water softeners obviously won't operate quite as much. Your hair will be shinier and squeakier. You know, it makes your hair squeaky. And even your coffee pots and whatever, you'll have less lime and buildup. And as you know, if you wash your car outside, it's our Fort Dodge water is quite hard. And virtually everybody has a water softener in town, but we're just hoping to reduce the amount of salt that we use in the community. So that's online, I think, in 2020. I think they're going to build in 2019, and it's going to take about a year to get it operational. So that was exciting.
Recidivist, repeat offender.
That's
recidivist.
You know, actually, the programs they run out there with the dogs and everything else they're involved in, our rate has dropped quite a bit. You know, so it's a good program. The LMI money, the low and moderate income money that we have associated with our TIF money that we've been giving for these housing developments, Williams Bend and the Gypsum Creek development, that LMI money is going to start rolling in here over the next year or two. We've been talking to the prison to build mini houses or tiny houses or, you know, whatever you want to call them, 2 or 3 bedroom in some cases. And the city would use these houses for infill. The state is actually looking at this program and they're pushing for Newton to do the business. And we're trying to push for Fort Dodge to also be incorporated in this so we can take advantage of it. So you're going to hear a little bit more about that. That's something we'll probably be talking to Tim and Mike and Ann Meyer about, because those things are going to be coming through the state. And we know how much the state loves to spend money right at the moment. They don't like to spend money. And this is going to be a little bit of an added expense. But again, it's going to help with the guys getting them trained in some of these careers and also helping with our housing market here in the community. So that'll be exciting. That's coming up too. And that's kind of tied into the housing trust. Those things all came together pretty much at the same time. Low and moderate income housing, a lot of rundown properties in town. We're not talking about rental properties. That's an entire different discussion. We have a little bit more control over those. But we're talking about people that may not have the money or resources to fix up their own homes that they're staying in. So we're not going to be here, big brother, and force them to do anything, but we're going to give them the option to get it done. And these, especially through the housing trust, that is a forgivable loan after 5 years if you're still in the same house. So you basically get a new furnace or a new roof and it wouldn't cost you much or anything. So
I should get some of that somewhere, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you should. You got a couple of advantages now that we know you can't see and you can't hear.
Can't hear very well.
Yeah. So a lot of things.
A couple other things I probably can't do either.
If you had a chance, if you haven't had a chance, I would strongly suggest you go down to the silo art. He is kind of wrapping that up now in the next few
beautiful
days.
Work.
Yep, I saw a picture on the somebody posted the other day at sunset with the blue sky. It was one of those time exposure ones and gave it kind of a yellowish cast with the bright blue sky overhead and with those figures in the foreground. And we had the meet and greet last week. He's a very nice man to talk to, very enthusiastic. Like my wife said, he's hot. I wouldn't know much about that. But
your wife said
he's hot. Yeah. Yeah.
So you had to embarrass her on the program, huh?
No, she doesn't listen. Yeah, but anyway, the silo.
Well, do you think we're sitting in here in a vacuum?
Absolutely. I know Lydia's listening, but beyond that, I'm pretty well.
Lydia.
Yeah. So anyway, if you get a chance, go down there and look at that. There was a little bit of controversy, as you recall, in the beginning, but I think this was the right decision. The artwork is superb. We're getting attention not only from our Fort Dodge area, but from around the region and even across state lines. We've had they ran a news article up in South Dakota on this because he did one up in Faulkton, South Dakota. And then this was.
What was the name of that town again?
It was Sioux Falls. Faulkton.
Faulkton.
I thought you said Sioux Falls. Yeah.
Faulkton,
South Dakota. And that, again, they painted some, and I talked to him about that. Apparently there's 740 people in the community and it was nothing to do. It was kind of quiet. So painting the mural was, I guess, a good thing for him to do because there wasn't anything else to do up there. So anyway, the Public Art Coalition was behind that, and we're working on several different projects. A couple of things we're working on is a 1% of our capital improvement plans. We divert some of that money into public art as well as maintenance of public art. There's several statues. I think Mr. Duncombe down in the square in front of the library is looking a little raggedy. The statue is deteriorated and needs to be cleaned and probably polished a little bit. And those are quite expensive, and we really do not have the budget or the capabilities of doing that now. So we're working on hopefully getting that part of our capital improvement plans as we continue to grow.
Are we growing?
Yep, we're growing. And the other thing, I was up in Mall of America area, and St. Paul has a public arts ordinance, and they've taken the traffic signal boxes, those big stainless steel boxes you see on the corners, and they've actually created artwork on those. And I thought that would be kind of cool. So we might be looking at that in the spring, have some kind of a design contest and start decorating some of our blocks, probably with appliques with vinyl. They look cool. Pretty. Give us something else to stare at while we're driving down the road.
Sure.
Yeah. So, and let's see now what else. Last night, planning and zoning met. Didn't see you at that meeting either.
You're right, you didn't.
Planning and zoning, there was a request.
You went to the planning and zoning meeting?
I walked by it. I had another conflict, so I didn't make it.
You walked by it?
Yeah, I was down at City Hall. But anyway, they're looking at putting in 108 unit apartment complex, 3 different apartments up by 108 apartments off of 32nd Street, just north of the Aquatic Center. They're planning on redeveloping 18.5 acres up there with a swimming pool. And they are looking obviously for street improvements and infrastructure improvements. And last night with planning and zoning, they tabled the action on this.
They tabled it.
They tabled it. Apparently, some of the neighbors were concerned about the traffic. Have we heard that before?
I think we have.
Yeah, a couple times.
Those doggone immigrants probably living there as well.
Yeah, but again, this is on the east side of the road, and there is multifamily housing adjacent across the road from it. It's up by Church of Latter-day Saints. It's basically right across the road from that on 32nd. And there is some multifamily housing in the Knollcrest area, so I don't know if there will be a concern about the traffic out there. 32nd Street was redone a number of years ago, and I think it's capable of handling the traffic. And of course, we got that nice roundabout out there where Floyd the Pig's going to be sitting before too long.
Well, I mean, there was we were going to have the road opened in Crawford Park from 15th Street down the hill, as it was for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of bizarre, frankly, reasons not to do that. One of them, which there was all kinds of, certainly if we allowed cars down there, there would be drug deals, all kinds of drug deals. It would just be terrible there. And
jumping up out of the park would be a problem.
It turned out it really wasn't any of that. It was just that a couple of people didn't want the road open.
Yeah.
Never mind what the people of Fort Dodge want.
Well, again, housing has really taken off in the last couple of years. We've had a lot of interest. The developer on this project is a name that you all know and love. It's KDG Development, the same ones that have been involved in the Warden Plaza. So it'll be interesting to see if they'll be able to, delegate enough people to do both projects at the same time or what. But they have the plans, and they are intending, I think, to start in the spring if everything kind of gets cleared. They don't actually own the ground yet. My understanding is they have until like May to close on the property. So they're trying to get permission to change the zoning from agricultural. Schmoker owns that ground out there, as he does a lot of that around the Aquatic Center. And it's 18.5 acres.
Some say that's why the Aquatic Center's out there.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. But anyway, that's that's what planning and zoning was doing last night. And again, they will probably be
Who was it on that decision? Oh,
yeah. Same group.
Yeah.
Yep. So a couple other things. Lights at Kennedy is still going on. We had a very busy
We're going to have to go, Terry.
Lights at Kennedy, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Kennedy Park.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Menke.
Right.
This is AM 1400 KVFD.
They got a name for people like you, High. That name is called recidivism. Repeat offender. Not a pretty name, is it, High?
No, sir. That's one bonehead name, but that ain't me anymore.
You're not just telling us what we want to hear.
No, sir. No way.
Because we just want to hear the truth.
This is Dave Graveline. Be sure to listen to Into Tomorrow right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
The president's former lawyer gets 3 years in prison. Lisa Brady, Fox News. Michael Cohen sentenced today as his family looked on.
His wife, his children, his brother and sister, his cousins. And he talked about how much support he's gotten from his family. And he said, I know I've let them all down, and it will become my life's work to be the best version of myself. That's when his voice broke. He said, I'm truly sorry, and I promise I will do better.
Fox's Rick Leventhal at federal court in New York, where Cohen also blamed blind loyalty to the president, saying he felt it was his duty to cover up dirty deeds. Federal prosecutors in the Cohen case say then candidate Trump ordered Cohen's hush money payments to 2 women. The president has denied any wrongdoing. A vote by secret ballot just wrapping up in Britain's parliament, where the prime minister is under pressure over her handling of Brexit negotiations, more than 2 years since the public narrowly voted to leave the European Union. Fox's Simon Owen is live in London.
Lisa, the news just in, Theresa May has survived this challenge to her leadership. She's won a vote of confidence at Parliament tonight by a reasonable margin, so she stays in 10 Downing Street. But this isn't the last of her problems. She's struggling to win approval from Parliament for her Brexit divorce deal, the deal she's negotiated with the EU for Britain's departure due next March. It remains unclear what might happen next, but for the time being, May is safe in her job. Lisa?
Thanks, Simon. There's a new deadliest drug in America, fentanyl, topping heroin, in a new report from federal health officials, blamed for 29% of all overdose deaths in 2016, up from just 4% 5 years earlier, and the first time a synthetic opioid has topped that list. The Dow up 158 points at the closing bell. This is Fox News.
It's the holiday sales event at Ford. It's a big deal, and we're busy making preparations to get you the best deals of the year. Because unlike Santa's presents, ours don't just magically appear. At Ford, ours are built in real factories, where pickup trucks come with best-in-class towing and payload, where SUVs are built with available features like terrain management and driver assist technologies, and where every bolt, stitch, and line of code is tested and tested again. But you don't have to write Santa a letter to get these presents. Naughty or nice, just come see your Ford dealer during our holiday sales event for our best offers of the year. Ford, built for the holidays. Built Ford proud.
Best-in-class towing and payload when properly configured. Class is light-duty pickups under 8,500 pounds GVWR based on Ford segmentation.
2 devastating wildfires, including the deadliest and most destructive in California history, are adding up fast.
The grand total of these insured losses associated with these 2018 fires so far is $9.05 billion. $9.05 billion, just slightly over $9 billion.
And State Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones expects the total to keep rising. The fires around the northern town of Paradise and in the south around Malibu destroyed thousands of homes and killed more than 80 people. A renewed recall by Toyota for 70,000 vehicles in North America to replace faulty airbag inflators that can explode.
The latest Takata-related recall affecting 03 to 05 Corolla sedans and Tundra pickups, and the 02 to 05 Sequoia and Lexus SC, vehicles that were previously recalled with replacement inflators that still use the chemical ammonium nitrate. Toyota will now use inflators made by another company with a safer chemical. At least 23 people have died worldwide due to exploding Takata airbag inflators. It's led to the largest auto recall in U.S. history. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
A copycat lawsuit over a similar sounding spice.
McCormick and Company, parent company of Maryland's Old Bay Seasonings, is suing Pittsburgh-based New Bay and its owner, Primal Palate, to keep them from using the name. Like Old Bay, New Bay promotes itself as suitable for crab legs, fries, and Bloody Marys. McCormick accuses Primal Palate of even using taglines like out with the old and in with the new to capitalize on Old Bay's fame and goodwill. Primal Palate co-founder Bill Stanley defends his spice mix as a nod to Old Bay, but designed to suggest a difference. McCormick wants New Bay off the market.
Fox's Ginny Cosola, again recapping the breaking news out of Britain. Prime Minister Theresa May keeps her job, just surviving a no-confidence vote. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Dakota City and the Iowa DNR have issued a boil advisory after the malfunction of the treatment equipment at the Dakota City water treatment plant. Because of equipment failure, the chlorine used for disinfection has fallen below the recommended levels. In Dakota City, it is recommended to not drink the water without boiling it first. The boil order is in effect until further notice. Iowa Central Community College on Tuesday became the only community college in Iowa to offer a flat tuition rate to students. The plan was unanimously approved by the college's board of directors on Tuesday. Iowa Central President Dan Kinney says the change will save students over $1,000 on their tuition.
This is going to help more students take more hours at less dollars. So we're excited.
Students will also have the opportunity to check out Microsoft Surface Go tablet devices. The new tuition model will apply to students on all Iowa Central Community College campuses in Fort Dodge, Webster City, and Storm Lake. The new tuition rate will begin for the 2019-2020 school year. It was announced that the city of Fort Dodge has not received the $7.6 million build grant that would have helped pay for the proposed intermodal hub in downtown Fort Dodge. The grant was submitted to the U.S. Department of Transportation, but Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show that the grant was not approved. Fierk says the plan for the intermodal hub will move forward without the grant.
So we didn't get the build grant. But that doesn't mean that the project's dead. There's other funding sources that we can look at to make the project successful. I mean, we're not giving up. This isn't a one and done thing. We didn't get it, so we're not going to continue. We're going to still pursue the project.
The intermodal hub would connect the proposed Warden Plaza and Cultural and Recreation Center and serve as a parking garage. The total cost of the project is $11.5 million. Fierk says the other funding options include USDA grants or loans, among other options. Iowa's two U.S. senators parted ways in Tuesday's approval of a new 5-year farm bill. Joni Ernst voted in favor of the compromise bill, which now goes to the House. Chuck Grassley was one of just 13 Republicans voting against the bill.
It's the small and medium-sized farmers that needs the help from the government, not these big farmers and corporate farmers that we're going to end up helping the way this bill is written.
Grassley's fought for years to place hard caps on subsidies from the government, saying the largest ag corporations and even non-farmers are benefiting the most.
I'm more than just a little disappointed, especially when the impact of large farmers being allowed to manipulate the system is that young and beginning farmers face even larger hurdles.
Senator Joni Ernst served on the conference committee that drafted the compromise. In a prepared statement, she praised the bill as farmer-focused and said it includes her provisions to reform the Conservative Reserve Program and provide critical mental health support through the Farmers First Act. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD Weatherology forecast. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with highs around 32. Winds out of the south 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overcast skies again tonight 25. Daytime highs approaching 33. Tomorrow overcast skies. Temps above average Friday and Saturday with highs from the upper 30s to the low 40s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 32.
Hi, I'm Michael Devine with AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm starting my 10th year here. 10th year on the air as the only talk show host in the state of Iowa in a town this size. And I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank Alpha Media for allowing this radio station on the air. I think local opinion is so very important. And this may be the only place you can get local opinion, not just mine, but from everyone. Again, thank you very much for listening to AM 1400 KVFD.
The free iHeartRadio app keeps you connected anywhere you go. More than just your favorite radio stations from all over the country. It's personalized radio with your favorite artists. Type in your favorite artist and we'll build you a station with all that artist's best music. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free. iHeartRadio.
The bakers of Country Hearth Breads want to put a little more jolly in your holiday this season with their Home for the Holidays sweepstakes. One lucky winner will receive a check for $1,000 to use for travel, gifts, or just celebrating with family and friends. Whatever would make your holiday more memorable. Enter today at countryhearthbreads.com/sweeps for your chance to win. Country Hearth Breads, locally baked and delivered fresh daily.
Hey, parents and kids, you're gonna love this. You can get a monthly pass for just $25. That means you get unlimited attraction play, 10% off food and select drinks in the cafe, exclusive deals and promotions. But that's not all. You'll also get enrollment into the Fort Frenzy Rewards program. The Fort Frenzy monthly pass is just $25, and you can add a person for just $10 extra. Sign up now at the front desk. Fort Frenzy,
where it's all fun and games. Fort Frenzy. Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD. Shut up! Shut up and take the pain. Take the pain! Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Do you ever get tired of watching bad things happen to people?
Sticking up for you when no one else will.
Yeah, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We are going to tell the truth, make it matter. We're never going to be boring. You can always join the program by going to youtube.com, 1400 KVFD. YouTube.com, type in 1400 KVFD. There we are, audio and visual. And boy, it's a great picture again today on YouTube that Ustream was just not getting. And of course, you can join the program always by calling 515-955-1400. Yes, I have with me kind of a revolutionary here of sorts. We have John Bonner from Vincent, because he and others have been, working quietly and diligently to feed the world. Now, that's a big undertaking there, John. That is a big undertaking.
I'm not actually involved in producing the food, but we need to educate people. And so I've been heavily involved in educating producers for years on how to produce the food, both in the animal health and feed industry, but also when I was at CAST with trying to be
now, CAST is what, John?
CAST is the Council for Agricultural Science and Technology. They're an independent 501c3 in Ames that has been there for 45 years. Their first paper was by Norman Borlaug, and they try to be the underwriters lab of agriculture by getting the top names around the world to put together publications on food, water, quality, safety, all these type of things, and put them online so that you can download them free of charge, written by people who don't have a tie to any company, any individual basis other than that they believe in the area of expertise. And it's not just their research. They summarize all the best research, and we may have an author from New Zealand and Washington and Florida on the same paper, reviewed by 3 more people from California, New York, and England, who then have to agree on this is the right way to say this subject. And so that's what we're trying to do, is educate there. When I was there, and I was the CEO and executive vice president for almost 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to see how much we could bring this information together and then present it to Congress with actual presentations to the staffers in Washington. And it was interesting to me that many of the staffers were people who had great degrees to write our legislation. They had degrees in history and law and politics, and they were writing ag policy.
Now, how do you access these papers again? From
The
CAST?
papers are all online. They're free downloads if you Google just 2 words, CAST, like on your broken arm, CAST, and science, it'll come up, and you can go to their page and you look under publications. You can get the full 16-page paper, or you can get a Ag Quick, which is a 1-page summary of it. And when it says, how do you want it delivered? Do you want it sent to you, or do you want to download it and print it yourself? And if you do that, it's free.
This portion of the program, by the way, brought to us by the Webster County pork producers. Greg Hora must really be having a lengthy harvest season. He hasn't been here for a month, I suppose.
Well, he had the harvest, plus he was in China and Japan.
Oh, he was. I didn't know that.
He was on a mission over there for the pork producers, being president. And this week he said he had to do a lot of work selling hogs. So
yeah.
He said he apologized for not being here for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And so asked me if I could be here.
Yeah, I mean, Greg's a ball of fire. He's got a lot of irons in the fire.
He's got a nice article that was in the paper here not so long ago about his barn and his farm and everything on the.
Which paper was he in?
And the Fort Dodge does that summary of barns.
Oh, really?
And
I'm sorry I missed that.
His farm was listed in there as one of the neat old farm barns.
Gosh, I saw that piece too, but I didn't.
He was in
I didn't
there.
pay much attention to it. I think
Mhm.
that was in a Sunday paper.
Yeah.
Was it last Sunday or the Sunday before?
1 or 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to go back and call up the Messenger online and see if I can find that. Yeah, Greg is a busy man, I'll tell you. And the busier he is, the more he likes it, I have a feeling. And that's the way his wife is too.
Well, the busier people are the ones that get more things done.
Yeah, I think. He gets a lot done. There's
And
no
a lot
doubt.
of people are always depending on them. So it's good to have people like Greg.
So Greg got you to come here today. What does he want you to talk about?
Well, he leaves it pretty much open for him. But I saw him Monday and I'll start by talking about the Grow Iowa Ag meeting that we were both at on Monday evening. And basically, it was a really interesting group of about 125 people who got to hear the president, Wendy Winterstein, speak, and then the two new deans that they're going to have. One has just started 60 days ago in the veterinary college, and one that's just going to be starting in about 60 days in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. So a lot of changes there and new faces and new names coming as Wendy Winterstein moved up to the presidency. And they gave some really interesting facts about why it was important. And we had about 10 or 12 legislators there, senators and congressmen, listening to their presentations on what's going on and what they're thinking of.
United States senators?
No,
were there.
U.S., Iowa.
Iowa senators. Okay.
Ones who are important to the budget for the college.
Certainly.
And just for example, in the veterinary diagnostic lab, they're mainly interested in animal agriculture, of course, but
of course,
$35 billion is what animal agriculture is worth to this state.
35 million?
Billion.
I was going to say 35 billion.
When you go to the animals or to the other side and look at the crop sciences and realize that 25% of the top grade of farmland in the world is in Iowa, that tells you where we're at. When you look at egg production, that we're the number one in egg production, people think of us as hogs. And they were talking about the fact that...
Well, that's where the most controversy is, I suppose.
Yeah, but in poultry too, there's concerns.
Oh,
there.
yeah. If you ask me, poultry is worse than hog smell any day of the week. But to me, it all smells like money, John.
Well, and the thing is, they were saying that the concern for either of those industries is that you have healthy animals. Because if you get shut down on a poultry operation, for example, because of an infection that looks like it could be avian flu, and you're an egg producer, eggs pile up real fast. What do you do with those? And that's all waste of resources. That's waste of food. And if it's not a break and it's something, just a bacterial infection that's killing these individual birds. And so that's why they were pointing out last year, on a year without a break, that the veterinary diagnostic lab did 1.5 million tests to confirm or not confirm disease situations that were sent to them. Now, that's why they're saying, we need to make sure that we have funding for the veterinary diagnostic lab, because we want to make sure we protect that business of $35 billion a year.
Did you sense a commitment among the legislators?
Yeah, the ones that were there were I think very impressed by the information that was given and what they said that they were wanting to do and why and how they were. They're not looking for a lot of extra money. They're looking for a 10% increase, but that's only $400,000. I mean, you think $400,000 on a industry that runs a 1.5 million tests a year on a $35 billion industry, that's pretty important for us to protect.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes back to, moving on from that to looking at food production and where do we think about food production in our system? And that's what makes us great, Mike, is a system. And if you think about that, it starts right here. And I'll start as basic as you can think about. Right now, I'm involved with Janine Lowry, who you've met. She was in here with her daughter. And we are talking about this year's garden at the fort.
Mm-hmm. And that was great, by the way.
And we need to have some kids.
Mm-hmm.
So if your kids are in 4-H or thinking of being in 4-H or interested in horticulture and they're already in 4-H, they can sign up for the project to be a part of that garden at the fort. We got 4 gardens out there now. We have the Pioneer Prairie Garden with wildflowers and herbs. We have the Three Sisters garden with the corn, beans, and squash, which are side by side. And here's what it looked like before. A lot of people think our prairie garden looked like weeds. And right next to it is a cornfield. And when it's young, it's planted in hills, 40 inches apart. They say, got a bad stand, didn't you? No, no, we didn't get a bad stand. We planted in 40-inch rows so you could cultivate. And that garden is there to show how our early agriculture started. Then we have the soldier garden that they would have raised everything from large radishes to carrots to beets to milling corn. And then we have the flower garden around the cabin. The kids can sign up for a 4-H project and actually come in and be a part of that horticulture project. So that's number one. The second thing that, not only is that 2 projects, that's the Master Gardener and the 4-H, but I talked to Linda Klein before I came in, and she wanted me to mention that January 10th through March 7th, there's 5 presentations on women in agriculture. And the Women in Ag series, if you think about women in ag, some people think, well, the men were the farmers. No, the women did all the finishing. The men raised it, but if the women hadn't finished it, preserved it, saved it, the men would have starved during half the year. So the women's part was very important there. Well, today their role is a little bit different. This series has got market outlook, grain contracts, land information, retirement planning, grain marketing plan. So a lot of the things that, while Mike, you've got farmers out there trying to get through the mud to harvest the corn.
Yeah,
somebody needs to know when to sell it to get the most money back. And you need to know what you're going to do with that land next year. What do you need to do for tiling, and where do you put your resources next year? How do you bring modern technology onto the farm, from computers to machinery? And the women are taking a major role in helping do that, as well as some of the hands-on activities every day. So there's 2 steps, 3 different programs that Iowa State has got right here in this county that we can work on. And so when you take the Grow Iowa Ag and the Women's Series and the 4-H, that's 3 things that Extension is doing to help bring local agriculture. Now, when you take it to the state level and look at the new deans, it was kind of interesting that the new dean for Ag and Life Sciences comes from West Virginia. And it's interesting that, he's went to school in Wisconsin and has got a degree in forestry as undergrad, but he's got a degree in entomology. Now, we could maybe have a really good dean here, because if you remember...
No, I'm sorry, entomology is...
Bugs.
Yeah, I got away from me there.
We have a few problems with bugs in the state occasionally. Everything from trees right on to the crops. And Wendy Winterstein's PhD was in entomology. So it's not a bad place to start, apparently, because you might end up as a dean or you might end up as a president. So that was the dean of the College of Agriculture. And then the dean of veterinary medicine comes out of Wisconsin. He just started 60 days ago. He has a degree heavily in beef cattle production. Worked closely with Maynard Hoberg, who was the last head of animal science. And so, has worked with animal science closely before. And you need to have veterinary medicine and animal science working closely together, because the 2 go hand in hand.
Certainly.
One's production, one is protection. And so those 2 things all fit together nicely. And it was kind of interesting to hear the president and the 2 new deans laying out what their plans were, what their needs were, and why this was important, in front of, like I say, about 125 people, including 10 to 15 state legislators who would come to join the meeting that evening and talk to people from all areas. There was the head of the Turkey Federation was there, the pork producers were there. So it's just a number of people brought together to say, how are we going to grow agriculture in the state? What do we need to do to protect our valuable asset? And as you well know, an awful lot of the income in this town, as well as the whole state, comes from agriculture, because when ag goes bad, the whole state goes bad.
So yes, it does, doesn't it? So, who could forget the 80s?
Yeah. And so, from that's our base core. But the next thing I was going to talk to you when as we can go through the show here, a new paper that Cass put out called Food Loss and Waste, and we can talk about that and look at what we have.
Food loss and waste. That's an intriguing title, really. We waste a lot of food in the country, don't we?
About 40%.
40%? Oh, God, I didn't know it was that much.
And what this paper does gives, and people say, well, yeah, no, I didn't know we did that much, but what does it weigh? Well, first off, it wastes natural resources. It takes a lot of water to grow crops or animals. It takes land, takes financial resources. So all of these things are a waste when we throw 40% of it away.
Well, how is that happening, John?
Well, there's no one single area of waste, but there's 3 or 4, and they're being measured by 3 or 4 different organizations too. Everything from the U.S. Department of Ag's Economic Resource Group to Environmental Protection Agency, and the losses are occurring on farm. That's the first loss.
On the farm.
On the farm. You're growing lettuce, Mike.
Okay.
You have been in the store lately and you bought a nice head of lettuce, iceberg lettuce. It's perfect, right? There's not a bad leaf on it. If that leaf had some bugs that ate a corner of it off, you can't sell it. So you just plow it under. You can't just clean it off. And if you have an apple that has a blemish on it, I can't eat that. It's got a worm blemish on it.
You know, I didn't grow up on the farm, John, but I was certainly spent a little time out there every now and then. We'd pick apples out of trees. I mean, we'd pick I still remember my grandfather taking me out in the garden, and he picked a tomato right off the vine. He brushed the dirt off it and ate it like an apple. And then he picked a smaller one and had me do it. And I still remember that.
And if there was a problem with that apple, if there was a worm that made a blemish on it or a bug that had bit it, you just cut it off.
Well, I mean, I've had green apples with worms in them before. I mean, you throw the doggone thing away if you need to.
Well, but in most cases, the rest of the apple's fine if you take out a little part of it.
Yeah, well,
but
they were plentiful though in those days.
But those aren't saleable, and so he was talking about how you have to throw that away, and so rather than harvesting it, they just leave it in the field.
That is crazy than hell.
And you know, you've got the problem you have here is food insecurity, not enough food, not sure that you're going to have the right kind and quality of food. All those things are what we need to bring in. And they estimate that there's, see in the paper, they point out here 1.9 million tons of on-farm losses of crops that are not.
Now these can these be considered losses, or are these considered food that is rejected by our health department for whatever reason?
Well, no, they're rejected by our public who won't buy them.
The public will not buy them.
Mm-mm. There's nothing wrong with that head of lettuce. There's nothing wrong with the apple that has a little blemish, is not perfectly smooth of the skin because a wasp bit it in the spring and deterred the growth of that apple in that point.
But surely with a head of lettuce, you could just tear off the bad leaf and throw it away.
But it wouldn't be a perfectly looking. It wouldn't be saleable in the stores. What they're saying.
God.
That was on. The other night I was listening to the interview on the Farm Channel 71 on RFD TV, and this guy was talking about how they tried to give it to give it to food. They're looking for ways to give it to food banks and places like that, but it costs them more to do that than they can get out of any of the return from what he's doing.
They can't give it to a food bank. Why?
The cost that he's got. There's no way. No one can cover the cost of what he has to do to get it harvested. He can't harvest it.
Oh, and then give it away.
Yeah,
he's got to be paid for the harvest
because he's got more cost in the harvest. I mean, he can't even give it away and have the cost of the harvest paid.
Well, that's painful to hear.
Yeah. So I mean, those are the kind of challenges that they've got now. As you look at the next loss that occurs, is you have loss in the food industry, in the food industry in preparation and in you ever left any food on the table at the restaurant?
Of course.
And that all gets thrown away. The school program, when we had the school lunch program, the kids were throwing away more than they were eating when we made that first change.
Not where I went to school.
No, but about 8 years ago. Yeah, well, you brought yours in a little brown bag.
No, well, I have done that, but we had a dietitian that insisted we try the food or or eat what we were served.
I remember, because we didn't have a cafeteria when I went to grade school.
Yeah.
And you brought your lunch. In fact, some of the kids brought it in bread bags.
They did, really?
In an old bread bag, and that was what their lunch bag was.
Well, if it was, if it kept well, that's fine. Yeah, I have been, I carried my lunch in a brown bag before.
The biggest loss, though, the biggest absolute loss is at the consumer level of throwing away food that they bought too much. They cooked it and they don't eat leftovers, so they throw them all away. And that was unheard of in when you were a kid. But a lot of it is strictly in the consumer mindset today of all new, all fresh, all perfect, and that's good if you can do it. But there's a lot of people in the world that would love to have some of that food.
Well, I was raised by parents who were young during the Great Depression, and they gave me, and it's a good thing, they instilled in me the attitude that food is not to be wasted.
Right.
And I waste very little food. It's not that I never leave something sit in the refrigerator too long and have to throw it away, because that does happen. But if I get a big bag of powdered soup, for example, I'll get 3 meals out of that.
Yeah.
And it's economical for me to do it as well. I save a lot of money doing it that way. But no, it's interesting. My son and his family probably don't do that. Just a different attitude.
And the goal the goal of the industry is to reduce food loss by 50%.
Yeah,
that would put us down to 20% loss on the thing. But if you look at getting it down there, how do you do it? Do we dehydrate it? Do we use it for compost? What did we do? You heard I told you earlier, in Madrid, Spain, there was a whole airplane full of romaine lettuce because the romaine remains mainly on the plane in Spain. Oh no, that was from My Fair Lady, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But the point is, all that romaine lettuce, what did we do with that was rejected, that was at every level of production?
Well, there was some poisoned lettuce, wasn't there?
But they couldn't identify where it was. So in the meantime, lettuce only got about 3 or 4 days.
Sure.
And so all that was in the grocery stores, all was in the chain coming in, was basically thrown away. Now, if there had been a way to dehydrate it or compost it, is there something we can do there? So the goal is, how do we reduce this by 50%? How do we put it into animal feed, and which animals do we do, and how do we make sure it's safe for them, because it has to be pure to give to the animals? How do we sanitize it?
John, we're going to discuss that very thing right after the news. Dr. John Bonner is our guest. We'll be back.
Michael Devine, when you want compelling talk.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
Okay, it's 3:32. Yeah, news, weather, the obituaries, and more John Bonner coming up as Divine Intervention continues at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Visiting Angels is America's choice in senior home care. We believe your loved ones should never have to give up living at home. Visiting Angels provides personal home care up to 24 hours per day, including meals and light housework. Ask about our dementia care at home. You'll select your professional caregiver. Look up visitingangels.com or call 877-374-LIVE. That's 877-374-LIVE.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in home care.
Iowa hog farmers have a lot to be proud of.
Proud of the quality products we put on tables around the world.
Proud of the strides we make to protect Iowa's natural resources.
Proud of the number of Iowans we're able to employ in safe workplaces.
Proud to protect and promote animal well-being in everything we do.
Iowa pork producers are proud because they do it right. And that's something all Iowans can take pride in.
Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
Iowa's pork producers work hard daily to produce safe, affordable food. Through the industry's We Care initiative, hog farmers are firmly committed to doing things right. That means keeping their pigs safe and healthy, safeguarding natural resources, protecting public health, and building strong communities. Producers fully understand the importance of pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement. It's the moral and ethical thing to do. Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
Loffersweiler Funeral Home is pleased to announce the addition of our crematory. I'm Luke Loffersweiler.
The addition of our on-site crematory is another example of how we consistently exceed expectations and deliver a standard of service that is 100% guaranteed. At Loffersweilers, we're honored to give your family our assistance and expertise, taking care of even the smallest details before, during, and after the funeral, so you can begin the healing process. We're Loffersweiler Funeral Home, Fort Dodge, a trusted friend of the family for over 160 years.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Dakota City and the Iowa DNR have issued a boil advisory after the malfunction of the treatment equipment at the Dakota City water treatment plant. Because of equipment failure, the chlorine used for disinfection has fallen below the recommended levels. In Dakota City, it is recommended to not drink the water without boiling it first. The boil order is in effect until further notice. Iowa Central Community College on Tuesday became the only community college in Iowa to offer a flat tuition rate to students. The plan was unanimously approved by the college's board of directors on Tuesday. Iowa Central President Dan Kinney says the change will save students over $1,000 on their tuition.
This is going to help more students take more hours at less dollars. So we're excited.
Students will also have the opportunity to check out Microsoft Surface Go tablet devices. The new tuition model will apply to students on all Iowa Central Community College campuses in Fort Dodge, Webster City, and Storm Lake. The new tuition rate will begin for the 2019-2020 school year. It was announced that the city of Fort Dodge has not received the $7.6 million build grant that would have helped pay for the proposed intermodal hub in downtown Fort Dodge. The grant was submitted to the U.S. Department of Transportation, but Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show that the grant was not approved. Fierk says the plan for the intermodal hub will move forward without the grant.
So we didn't get the build grant. But that doesn't mean that the project's dead. There's other funding sources that we can look at to make the project successful. I mean, we're not giving up. This isn't a one and done thing. We didn't get it, so we're not going to continue. We're going to still pursue the project.
The intermodal hub would connect the proposed Warden Plaza and Cultural and Recreation Center and serve as a parking garage. The total cost of the project is $11.5 million. Fierk says the other funding options include USDA grants or loans, among other options. Iowa's two U.S. senators parted ways in Tuesday's approval of a new 5-year farm bill. Joni Ernst voted in favor of the compromise bill, which now goes to the House. Chuck Grassley was one of just 13 Republicans voting against the bill.
It's the small and medium-sized farmers that needs the help from the government, not these big farmers and corporate farmers that we're going to end up helping the way this bill is written.
Grassley's fought for years to place hard caps on subsidies from the government, saying the largest ag corporations and even non-farmers are benefiting the most.
I'm more than just a little disappointed, especially when the impact of large farmers being allowed to manipulate the system is that young and beginning farmers face even larger hurdles.
Senator Joni Ernst served on the conference committee that drafted the compromise. In a prepared statement, she praised the bill as farmer-focused and said it includes her provisions to reform the Conservative Reserve Program and provide critical mental health support through the Farmers First Act. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn up 1 1/4 at 3.76 1/4. March up 1/2 penny at 3.85 1/4. May corn up 1/2 penny at 3.92 3/4. And July corn unchanged at 3.98 3/4. January soybeans up a nickel at 9.20. March up a nickel at 9.33 1/4. May up 4 3/4 at 9.45 3/4. July up 4 1/2 at 9.57 1/4. December wheat closed up 5 1/2 at 5.15 1/4. Soybean meal up 1.90 a ton at 3.10.80. December live cattle up 75 cents at 1.19.12. February up 75 at 1.22.90. January feeder cattle up 27 cents at 1.47.57. March up 37 at 1.45.27. December lean hogs up 27 cents at 54.72. February up 50 cents at 65.70. From the farm desk, I am Dwayne Murley.
The health message of eating more fruits and vegetables doesn't seem to be getting across. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. The Alliance for Food and Farming is looking at the reasons why and is also looking at the benefits of eating fruits and vegetables in pregnancy. Professor Carl Keene with UC Davis says availability and cost are some of the reasons, but the other question is, are consumers being scared away from fruits and vegetables from claims that they are riddled with pesticides? The Environmental Working Group's so-called Dirty Dozen fruits and vegetables never looks at the actual levels of pesticides nor the actual risk. Keene says the science doesn't add up.
We really have a wealth of data on the health benefits,
but we have no real clear evidence that pesticide residues are posing a risk in the American marketplace.
Dr. Keene says there's overwhelming evidence that eating fruits and vegetables is good for health and in prevention of disease. In pregnancy, he says there are benefits for health of mothers and babies.
We need more studies. Every scientist always loves to say we need more studies, but consumers need to know the science. Actually, overwhelmingly supports only one position. Next slide. And that's that fruits and vegetables are good for you, and that eating an abundant variety at all stages of your life has a lot more positives than when most people appreciate. And I think that this is underscored for pregnant women who are looking to reduce as much as they can the risk for pregnancy complications.
I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Hurry in and find a great deal at the Ram Big Finish event.
I want to thank my mommy for loving me so much, for taking me to the doctor when I broke my foot,
for leaving me alone when I wanted to be alone.
And now, as a grown-up, I'm thankful for being able to take care of you, my dear mom, for taking you to your therapies, for understanding that sometimes you simply want to be alone.
Roles change without us noticing. That's why AARP gives you the information to provide even better care for your loved one. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom. I had no idea how hard it would be and what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood and ways for me to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics, but also information about the hurdles I was facing. Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This is AM 1400, KVFT, the voice of Fort Dodge, 3:41, 19 minutes before 4 o'clock. Dr. John Bonner is in the studio. We'll be back talking with Dr. Bonner in just a few minutes. In the weather forecast, first of all, we'll have fog into the early evening and overnight. Our overnight low will be 25 degrees. Tomorrow, cloudy with a high of 33. Friday, sunny with a high of 37. Saturday, sunny with a high of 41 degrees. That sounds pretty good. On Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 39. On Monday, sunny with a high of 35. And Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high of 38 degrees. Sounds pretty good for this time of year. Right now, 33 degrees at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfilerseaversfuneralhome.com. Clem Clemens has died. Warren Clemens, also known as Clem Clemens, has died at the age of 88. He died Monday at his home. There will be a mass of Christian burial on Saturday at Corpus Christi Church for Warren Clem Clemens. Dale Fitzgerald of Manson has died at the age of 80. Dale Fitzgerald of Des Moines, formerly of Manson, has died at the age of 60. Beg your pardon. He passed away of cancer at the Paula J. Baber Hospice Home on December 8th. Funeral services for Dale Fitzgerald, who passed away at the age of 60, will be held Saturday the 15th at 11 o'clock in the morning at St. Thomas Catholic Church in Manson. Obituaries brought to you this hour by Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfilerseaversfuneralhome.com. 342. Again, we'll be talking with Dr. John Bonner in just a few minutes. It's 33 degrees at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Tis the season to upgrade your ride at Humboldt Motor Sales. Hurry in now and take advantage of employee pricing on Chevys. The price you pay is the price they pay. Save $5,000 on the Chevy Equinox. Now that's some serious employee pricing. Take $5,000 off the GMC Terrain. That'll help with your Christmas shopping. Experience the new Buick Encore and save $4,400. What a deal! Get employee pricing on new Chevys and the biggest discounts of the year at Humboldt Motor Sales. Online at HumboldtGM.com.
When one door closes, another door opens. I said, another door opens. Another door opens.
Door issues? P&R Entry Doors will come to your business and replace your hollow metal entry door fast. And if your garage door is giving you fits, P&R Entry Doors will handle that too. Family owned and operated for 30 years. For a free estimate, call 573-8883. Online at pndrentrydoors.com.
Divine Intervention at AM 1400 KVFD, where Fort Dodge talk.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Merry Christmas, everybody. I want to welcome back to the program Dr. John Bonner. And we have been talking about, we've been talking about a lot of things, but certainly about food. And we were talking just before the break about the astounding amount of food that we waste. Dr. Bonner has given us some papers today from CAST, and go to CAST Science. Is it castscience.org or
just Google 2 words, CAST and Science, and it'll come up on
take-
Google, and then you can click on that and go to their site and look at publications, and then go over to how you want it downloaded. And if you hit download online, it'll let you download the papers all free, and you can get like you've got one in your hand right now, Mike. It's on the subject of food loss and waste. It's 16 pages. I've got one in front of me that's called Ag Quick. That's 1 page summarizing that paper.
Okay.
So they make it in different forms if you're a scientist or if you're an individual who just wants the basic facts, and they're all free. And these are put together by people who are not tied into that paper in any way other than that's their area of expertise. They do not have any tied to a company or a organization that is paying them to write this. These papers are all written as volunteer authors and volunteer reviewers. So you kind of have a paper written by the underwriter's lab of food production.
Sure. And just before the break, you were talking about the amount of food wasted in the U.S. was 40%? 40%.
You know, humans have always wasted food, but we've taken it to a dramatic proportion today because of the systems that we have in place, whether it's in schools, whether it's in restaurants, or whether it's in the home. And you know, we don't teach home economics anymore. We don't know how to save a leftover very well. Many cases, many people don't even like leftovers anymore. They've got enough money and enough resources to do it. But as you look at this thing from food security and hunger, natural resources that we're utilizing, and malnutrition that's still left in the world to be handled, it behooves us to at least cut that waste by 50%. And we've been working on that in the industry. There's a number of ways, to preserve the food better, or how to use the food that is left to dehydrate it, to make it into sanitary feed for cattle by sanitizing it, dehydrating it. All of these things are food treatment plants, processes that we need to do. So the technology has to be developed, and the transportation and the cost has to be not prohibitive, so that wherever it's at, whether it's on the farm, whether it's in the store, how do you make this happen and not waste that resource? Because each of those levels are in business to make money, and if it's going to cost them more money to give something away, they're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got to look at a way that we can have them make as much as they can to keep their resources, so they can produce more of the top level food that we've become accustomed to having. It's just it's a challenge, and it's why, like I said to you earlier, at Iowa State, when we were listening to the president and deans speak last week.
President of the
university. Yeah, sorry. Wendy Winterstein. The challenge is to have enough people to do this in food and nutrition, nutritional physiology, veterinary medicine. If you look at the College of Agriculture, last year they hit an all-time high. They've been running about 97 to 98% of their graduating seniors having a job the day they graduate, all lined up, ready to go to work. Last year, they had 99% of the kids who graduated had a job the day they graduated in a good paying situation in agriculture. We can't get enough people at this point because this is such a strong area. And you don't have to be from a farm to do that. You remember I had a young lady with me who was here 3 years ago from Manson, who lived in town, but she wanted to raise a pig. So she raised one. She liked agriculture. She's now and it fits right with this paper, global resource management. And that's what she's studying to do. She's traveled now. She's almost 21, but she's been to Argentina twice. She's been to Brazil. She's getting her degree in global resource management and horticulture. And if you think about that, someone who's got that kind of degree is new, starting out, has already been to Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Mexico, by the time you're 22 years old, like you, I'm sure traveled to all those places when you were that age.
Yeah, but I was wearing OD green at the time.
The point is, this kind of a person is going to have a job with a major company or with an international organization, whether it be someone like the Peace Corps or whether it be like Cargill, whether it be with the World Food Prize type of an organization. There's all kinds of jobs out there. Everything from if you look at, like I said, mentioned earlier, the RFD TV, the reporting on agriculture, and it can be a long-term career. No, the man, Orion Samuelson. He's only 79. He's still doing it.
He's still going, isn't he?
And
the Energizer Bunny.
And he just loves it. So, I mean, there's jobs in any area that you want to be focused on, and you don't have to be from the farm to be in agriculture today. And like I said, when we started, if you want to start learning a little bit about horticulture and gardening, go to your 4-H office, sign up for 4-H and horticulture. You can be a part of our program, which we stress 4 things in that program. At the fort, we have gardens out there. We stress citizenship. That means serving the fort by putting together a program that teaches people of what you're doing. Leadership, by helping teach the younger kids that come in. Communication, because you talk to people. And the horticulture of what you do and what you're growing and why you're growing it. And you'd be surprised how many people have questions about, what are those turnips? I've never had a turnip. What's that? Asparagus. How do you know when to pick it? Potatoes? I didn't know they grew underground. I've heard all these questions in the last 4 years. So whatever level you're at of age or expertise, there's a place for you to get involved in agriculture. And I think, we're lucky to be in a state with an absolutely outstanding school. As you go around the country, and I've traveled a long ways around the world over the years. Oh, Iowa State. Wow. They're really impressed with the
Iowa
reputation.
State is an impressive university down there. It's been my pleasure to become acquainted with some of the very young people. Well, they're, to me and you, they're in their early 30s. But they have a vision for the future. And it's remarkable.
We were at the Hansen Center, the new building that they built there south of the towers. And it was interesting. I was talking to the manager of the facility there, and I said, how is it going here? Is it been going for like 3-4 years now? He said, we can't get everything in. He said, I have calls every day. Last month, we only had 30 events in 31 days. And so there's an event every single day at their building. Plus they have 4 classrooms in that building, and they're full all the time. So, that's, they didn't have that building 3 years ago, and you go, how did you live without it when you have this many things wanting to come in?
Sure.
And everything from rodeos to stock shows, to meetings, just a number of conventions, even in that, they don't want to be in the fancy Hilton or C.Y. Stevens. They want something a little more casual. And so they've got something for everyone, what it amounts to.
I want to ask you something about Iowa State University. The funding for the Sustainable Ag program was discontinued. And I don't think the Sustainable program is even available at Iowa State anymore.
Yeah, it is.
Did you think that was the correct thing to do? Was that unnecessary? Or?
No, I think the legislature made the cut of the fundings that you're talking about.
Yes.
But they found ways to fund that through some public or some private grants. And some, I think the majority of that program is still going on, but it's funded totally differently than it was before, if I'm not mistaken.
Do you think that's a worthy program, Sustainable Agriculture?
Well, I think we've got to look at it from both standpoints, and the whether you're a whole food fan or not, whether you're a traditional farmer, the food is all good. The quality is there. The Whole Food does a great job of having the freshest food you could possibly get.
I'm in favor of feeding the most people effectively and safely.
And have
period. End of story.
And have the healthy food. And as you look
if
at
it's row crop farming, fine. If it's something else, fine.
You bet. There was a man that I worked with when I was at CAST, A.G. Connemara. He was Secretary of Agriculture under Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is a farmer, third generation, I believe, in California. They raise beans and strawberries, and commercially. And he said, I'll raise it on any piece of land that I can get that's over 5 acres and has water, because it's around Orange County. And I said, so do you raise organic? Or he said, well, it depends. If there's buildings along the side of it, you cannot use a fungicide within so many feet of a building. So I plant that into the organic, and the other half of the field will be in the regular.
Mm-hmm.
And he's raising strawberries under plastic. Plastic is put down with holes and the plants are put in. And when he pulls the plastic up, the plastic is recycled. The beans are sold on farmers market. They're sold organic to organic markets, and they're sold to stores like Hy-Vee and Fairway in bushel size boxes. So however it needs to be produced, he's producing it by the standards from each one. Now, the challenge is the names of these things, like natural. There is no government certification of natural. And I just love it when you get advertising that puts on products like apples and says gluten-free. Of course it's gluten-free. There's no gluten in an apple, never has been. And so we need to make sure that we understand what these terms mean when we start throwing them around. Organic, natural, GMO. What do they really mean? Look up and know what they really mean. And some of them you can just apply because they're strictly marketing terms. And if you're looking to make more money, that's good if you can do it. But as a consumer, it's the old saying, buyer beware. Are you paying more money than you need to get the same thing? And a gluten-free apple is the same as any other apple.
Yeah.
No difference. It's what quality, what size, what variety. Those are the things you need to look at. So know what you're buying and look at it from the standpoint of nutrition, food safety, quality, all the things that you want to have. And what are you going to do with it? How are you going to use it? And let's not waste it.
Let's not waste it. What recommendations would you have or are available to prevent food waste?
Well, I guess the first thing is know how long something will last and buy the amount you need.
Because you think that people are wasting the bulk of food waste in this country is people buying too much or not using what they do buy,
or just not preserving it correctly afterwards, and then thinking I've got to throw it out now because it's a day old. It's been in the refrigerator a day. I got to throw it out. Or the thing is that if you look at most of the dates on things that said, use by November 1st, 2018. It's a can of tomatoes. That can of tomatoes is still fine, but the government had to pick a date, and so they picked on this product. How long is it? So how far out of date is it? Has it been preserved correctly? Is the can dented, broken, opened? If it's not, it hasn't changed.
Well, they have expiration dates on pop cans and beer cans now, John. Last time I looked, John, I welcome you here anytime. I look forward to having you here again. This portion of the program brought to you, by the way, by Webster County Pork Producers. We thank the Webster County Pork Producers. John, I probably won't see you before Christmas, so Merry Christmas to you and your family.
You, sir.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
So you're a winner on KVFD. Congratulations. Here's a few things you need to know. Prizes and gifts awarded to listeners are provided for promotional consideration. Winners are limited to one per household. Winners must give their own legal name. Callers are sometimes taped for later broadcast. We reserve the right to refuse prizes if rules are broken. All prizes must be picked up within 10 days. We are not responsible for taxes or fees associated with prizes won. Winners may be required to show ID. Got it? Good. Thanks for listening to the station that made you what you are today. A winner, KVFD.
Have you ever wondered how the brain works? What makes us tick? Join me, Greg Woods, every Wednesday morning for all the latest news on the brain, on aging, and the science behind it all. It's The Mind Boggles, every Wednesday morning at 8:30 on AM 1400 KVFD.
The opinions and remarks expressed on this radio program by the host, guests, and call-in listeners are the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not reflect the views of management or ownership of KVFD AM 1400.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Webster County Supervisor Bob Thode is going to be with us in the next hour. And, of course, Father Patrick Boehm will be in about 4:30 this afternoon. Fog tonight. Be aware of that if you got someplace to drive. It's 33 degrees right now at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Hi, this is Gary Rima, the voice of the University of Northern Iowa Panthers, and this is the home for Panther Sports, the voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Political drama on Lisa Brady, Fox News. Across the pond this time, British Prime Minister Theresa May surviving a no-confidence vote, which means keeping her job. And she's just announced a renewed mission.
Delivering the Brexit that people voted for, bringing the country back together and building a country that truly works for everyone.
The challenge to her leadership came after a canceled vote in Parliament on the plan she negotiated for leaving the European Union. He used to be a member of the Inner Circle, but President Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, will head to federal prison. Fox's Gernal Scott has more live.
Elisa, a federal judge sentenced Cohen to 36 months behind bars. In the midst of that, Cohen spoke on his own behalf to the judge, saying he's ultimately responsible for his actions, but not solely responsible. He did say it was his weakness and blind loyalty to Donald Trump that will land him behind bars for facilitating questionable Russian business deals and dishing out hush money. Cohen will also have to pay nearly $2 million in restitution and fines. He plans to turn himself over to federal authorities next March, Lisa.
Thanks, Gernal. There's been no public reaction from the president today, but he has previously accused Cohen of lying and denies doing anything illegal. 10 days left to avoid a partial government shutdown.
The president is clinging to his position of billions of dollars for an unnecessary, ineffective border wall.
Minority Leader Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor earlier today urging Republican lawmakers to help. Democrats want the president to accept the 6 appropriations bills already negotiated and an extension of Homeland Security funding or a stopgap measure for all 7. House Republicans said to be considering a bill for the $5 billion the president wants for the wall. This is Fox News.
It's the holiday sales event at Ford. It's a big deal, and we're busy making preparations to get you the best deals of the year. Because unlike Santa's presents, ours don't just magically appear. At Ford, ours are built in real factories, where pickup trucks come with best-in-class towing and payload, where SUVs are built with available features like terrain management and driver assist technologies, and where every bolt, stitch, and line of code is tested and tested again. But you don't have to write Santa a letter to get these presents. Naughty or nice, just come see your Ford dealer during our holiday sales event for our best offers of the year. Ford, built for the holidays. Built Ford proud.
Best-in-class towing and payload when properly configured. Classes light-duty pickups under 8,500 pounds GVWR based on Ford segmentation.
More than 24 U.S. diplomats who reported concussion-type symptoms while stationed in Cuba were sickened by something.
We have objective evidence that they had abnormalities, objective evidence, incontrovertible objective evidence that they had an abnormality when they presented acutely.
But Dr. Carrie Balaban, one of the researchers at the University of Miami who released findings today, said they still don't know what or who caused it. The State Department still investigating what it calls attacks. He might run for president. President Obama's former housing secretary, Julian Castro, forming an exploratory committee.
I believe that our country is ready for leadership that is trying to bring people together instead of tear them apart. Leadership that has integrity instead of what we see in Washington today.
Only one Democrat has officially declared a 2020 run so far, Maryland Congressman John Delaney. It's like a National Hall of Fame for movies.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
My Fair Lady, Brokeback Mountain, Jurassic Park, and The Shining made the list of the 25 American films inducted into the National Film Registry. These films will be preserved for all time because of their cultural, historic, and aesthetic importance. The Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden, said this year's films span 107 years from 1898 to 2005. Also on the list,
So could I ask you to love me when I knew you loved Rebecca still?
Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca the Lady from Shanghai, Disney's Cinderella, Broadcast News, and Eve's Bayou, written and directed by Black female director Cassie Lemons. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Well, meantime, the third version of a famous movie, A Star is Born, gets the most nominations for the Screen Actors Guild Awards, 4 in all, including Best Cast and individual nominations for Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga, and Sam Elliott. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagon with the KVFD Afternoon News. Dakota City and the Iowa DNR have issued a boil advisory after the malfunction of the treatment equipment at the Dakota City water treatment plant. Because of equipment failure, the chlorine used for disinfection has fallen below the recommended levels. In Dakota City, it is recommended to not drink the water without boiling it first. The boil order is in effect until further notice. Iowa Central Community College on Tuesday became the only community college in Iowa to offer a flat tuition rate to students. The plan was unanimously approved by the college's board of directors on Tuesday. Iowa Central President Dan Kinney says the change will save students over $1,000 on their tuition.
This is going to help more students take more hours at less dollars. So we're excited.
Students will also have the opportunity to check out Microsoft Surface Go tablet devices. The new tuition model will apply to students on all Iowa Central Community College campuses in Fort Dodge, Webster City, and Storm Lake. The new tuition rate will begin for the 2019-2020 school year. It was announced that the city of Fort Dodge has not received the $7.6 million build grant that would have helped pay for the proposed intermodal hub in downtown Fort Dodge. The grant was submitted to the U.S. Department of Transportation, but Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show that the grant was not approved. Fierk says the plan for the intermodal hub will move forward without the grant.
So we didn't get the build grant. But that doesn't mean that the project's dead. There's other funding sources that we can look at to make the project successful. I mean, we're not giving up. This isn't a one and done thing. We didn't get it, so we're not going to continue. We're going to still pursue the project.
The intermodal hub would connect the proposed Warden Plaza and Cultural and Recreation Center and serve as a parking garage. The total cost of the project is $11.5 million. Fierk says the other funding options include USDA grants or loans, among other options. Iowa's 2 U.S. senators parted ways in Tuesday's approval of a new 5-year farm bill. Joni Ernst voted in favor of the compromise bill, which now goes to the House. Chuck Grassley was one of just 13 Republicans voting against the bill.
It's the small and medium-sized farmers that needs the help from the government, not these big farmers and corporate farmers that we're going to end up helping the way this bill is written.
Grassley's fought for years to place hard caps on subsidies from the government, saying the largest ag corporations and even non-farmers are benefiting the most.
I'm more than just a little disappointed, especially when the impact of large farmers being allowed to manipulate the system is that young and beginning farmers face even larger hurdles.
Senator Joni Ernst served on the conference committee that drafted the compromise. In a prepared statement, she praised the bill as farmer-focused and said it includes her provisions to reform the Conservative Reserve Program and provide critical mental health support through the Farmers First Act. This has been Alex Benzagon with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with highs around 32. Winds out of the south 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overcast skies again tonight 25. Daytime highs approaching 33. Tomorrow overcast skies. Temps above average Friday and Saturday with highs from the upper 30s to the low 40s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 33.
The opinions and remarks expressed on this radio program by the host, guests, and call-in listeners are the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not reflect the views of management or ownership of KVFD AM 1400.
Half-price Christmas? You bet, but only at the General Store. The General Store has been transformed into a Christmas wonderland, and now everything is half price. From Christmas decor to stockings to hang with care. From Christmas trees and lawn ornaments to wreaths and Christmas sweaters. The General Store has it for Christmas, and it's all half price. And remember, everything at the General Store is always tax-free, and all proceeds go toward helping people in our community. Shop at the General Store, 12 North 25th, Fort Dodge, making spirits bright.
Active Health Chiropractic knows the holiday season can be a very stressful time. It's easy to get wrapped up in everything and forget to take care of your own health. Make sure to put a visit to Active Health Chiropractic on your holiday to-do list so you can be happy and healthy this holiday season. And here's a friendly reminder. If you've met your deductible or still have chiropractic benefits left to use this year, now's the time to schedule an appointment before they expire at the end of the year. Here's to wishing you a happy holidays from Active Health Chiropractic.
Trust in Active Health Chiropractic and feel better today.
Divine Intervention at AM 1400 KVFD, where Fort Dodge talk.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. I'm sneaky, but I'm right. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yes, congratulations for not sucking. Those who do not listen to this program obviously suck. Here at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, and not sucking today, perhaps for the first time in his life, is County Supervisor Bob Thode. Way to go, Bob. Way to go. Don't suck. Good.
Wow. That's interesting.
You've never had an intro like that before, have you?
I'd have to admit that's the first one
Well,
for me.
I'm a creative genius. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
Well, that I never heard you called a genius either. So
well, it was the first time, but I guarantee it won't be the last.
I'm sure.
Bob Thode, of course, Webster County Supervisor. You have a question or comment for Supervisor Thode, 515-955-1400, 515-955-1400. So there was like a 5-minute supervisor meeting on Tuesday. What was the Top Hat opening earlier, and you guys had to get out of there, or what?
I think it was closer to 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
The 6-minute meeting.
It don't happen very often.
I was going to say, why did you meet?
I don't think it was expected to be that short of one. There was a couple items that we were going to discuss, but they held off for a week. One of the Steve Kirsten needed to be at another location. We were going to discuss a purchase, but
Is Steve still a magistrate, or?
I believe he is. Yes, It's been a while since I've had to go up into that neck of the woods. So
Right. How long you been retired?
just over about a year and a half now.
Okay. All right. I can't keep track of those things. I really can't. But anyway.
Do you have a hard enough time keeping track of yourself at
I
times? Don't
do.
you?
As a matter of fact, I do. I can find my way to the bathroom, and I'm content with that right now at this stage in life. So we just there just came some things there due to a series of circumstances. There was really nothing to talk about at the supervisors meeting yesterday.
No, just a couple items that were there, and they needed the approval, and we got her done. So
Okay, well, thanks for coming, Bob.
all right, we'll see you next week.
No, we'll talk about a couple other things because it's budget time almost over at the county. So,
Yeah.
when does the budget process begin?
I believe it's the week of the 21st is when we start having the budget workshop. So
Will all the supervisors be involved in the budgeting?
all of them with that, yes. I think somewhere in the midst of some of those workshops, I've got a couple meetings I have to go to, and I don't know about the rest, but I know I've got a county social service meeting I have to be to over in Blackhawk County. So I'll miss part of them, but I'll be around for almost all of them. So
Okay, all right. So, will the supervisors be able to do this by themselves, or they need some sort of professional help? I mean, an accountant or a CPA or someone who is well versed in budgets to help you through the process, or not?
Well, this will be the first budget we'll be doing without Merrill being there, and normally, it's, I think we should be in pretty good shape. Everybody's let's see,
Because Merrill's done it in the past, right?
Yeah, Merrill's and he's always had the assistance of the auditor, and
Sure.
Doreen's up to date with everything, so she knows about. We kind of fall in line with what happened last year and go from there. So I don't think it's going to be that tough. We just have to sit down and figure out what our priorities are going to be and go from there.
What are your personal priorities as far as a supervisor?
Well, it's an interesting question. Just whatever we need to take care of, keep our buildings up in shape, and
Would you like to see more money on mental health, or that's kind of your thing now?
well,
Lord knows you could use some mental health.
you and me both. So the big thing with the mental health is, we could always use more, but we're not real sure where we're going to be at with the legislation on what their expectations are. I know we're working on trying to get some access centers here in Fort Dodge, and that's one of the goals that we were pushing for. And the Supervisor Campbell was concerned about what we really, what the guidelines are, or what we're going to need for it. And we've got an idea, but until we see what the legislators decide to come up with, we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So we're not real sure just exactly. We just try to give the help that we can for our citizens.
Yeah. Do you is the revenue sufficient, do you believe, for the budget of 2019?
We, the levy, we just discussed that. We went to Lansing, Iowa, up in Alameda County, which is part of this region, last week, and we're going to leave it the same. We've got some monies that we've got to come down a little bit lower with, which we've got some concerns on how much that we can have in a reserve. And the reason that they are concerned about that is we hit the counties up every 6 months. When they get paid the taxes, then their amount that's been levied goes back to the region. But there's nothing else coming in during that period of time, and that reserve was to make sure that we would be able to keep things covered. And not real sure how that's going to work out yet. We're still working on trying to figure that one out. But at this point, for what the expectations are for right now, yeah, I think we should be in pretty good shape. So,
okay. This was it was a good year as far as I was concerned. I mean, I had a good time and all that, but it was a hard year on our roads. The farmers were out in the fall, and of course it was a very unusual year. And then it was so wet in the spring and so wet in the fall both.
Right.
And they're out there in their big heavy combines. Did it tear up the roads out in the county much? Is there going to be additional need for road repair out in the rural areas, or?
Well, at this point, it seems like everything. I think we had one piece of farm equipment that actually started on fire on one of our blacktops, and it's got a little damage.
I remember that, yeah.
And Randy Will, who is our engineer, he does just a wonderful job. So they stay on top of it. If we get complaints, they get their people onto it and try to do the best they can. And we've been upgrading their equipment and stuff, and we hear about it, they get after it, and if we hear that something's not right, then Randy's been real good about approaching everything. He's got some good foremen that are out there, so they really stay after it.
Well, I believe that. We got a pretty good road crew, I think.
Yes, we do.
How many guys we got on the road crew anyway? Do you have any idea?
I would say in the high 30s.
Do we have that many, really?
You've got a shed down in Gowrie. You got one in Dayton. Have one in Lehigh. We've got the main one right out by the old county home. You got one in Badger.
The old county home. I haven't heard that in a while.
Didn't you used to reside there at one time?
No. I resided out in the front yard of the Bohemian Hall. There's another blast from the past.
I'm sure a few people have probably ended up in the front yard the next morning. At least we're smart enough not to drive out of there. So,
well, Bohemian Hall, I tell you, it used to be the pretty hot spot. I mean,
and it's kind of interesting because a lot of our older citizens would go down there for the dances, and they just seemed to have a great time when they were there. And you never heard of there ever being a problem down there.
No. Well, mainly they were farmers. I know Pocahontas County, where my wife was from, there was a lot of Bohemian settlement there. And a lot of folks from Pocahontas County would come to the Bohemian Hall for the dances and for the food as well. I mean, it was traditional Bohemian food. And it was in our parents' generation, it was a very popular place. And even into the 70s and perhaps early 80s it was. All good things must come to an end, I guess. And, it's not there anymore. But it was quite the spot. It was really quite the spot. And it's too bad we don't have those sorts of things anymore, but I guess the demand dried up. So AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, Bob Thode, Webster County Supervisor, is our guest. You certainly can call and ask Supervisor Thode a question if you want to. 515-955-1400, 515-955-1400. So Randy's on the job as far as the roads are concerned, and we have enough money. We could have a long and nasty winter. You got
to quit being so negative all the time. Remember, it's just right now, it's just going to be smooth. Everything's going to work out.
Well, you've been doing yoga lately or what?
Because my chances of getting yoga completed are about as good as yours. So
there's no chance.
No chance.
No chance for me whatsoever. No, I don't do any yoga, and I have no plans to.
And if you try to convince our citizens that you were doing yoga, they would all probably pass out from laughter from you telling them that. So.
Well, I have heard it's good for flexibility. I should probably look into it. I know you're I know you're very flexible. Yeah, I know you're very flexible.
For sure.
And it's good for flexibility, and a lot of people swear by it. I haven't taken advantage of it, and I It's one of those things I've been saying I'm going to do for about 20 years now. And I got to admit, I'm probably never going to do it. So
At least you got it talked out.
I got it talked all the way through. That's
There you
right.
go.
I'll tell you, in the wintertime anyway, it's not that way in spring and fall and summer, but after 6 o'clock in the winter, I rarely leave the house. It's dark out and I just don't go anyplace.
Yeah. It just seems like the older you get, the more you're a little more comfortable sitting around the house than you are.
I have my favorite chair, yes, and I've had it for quite a long time. I think I had a couple of them, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Years ago, I went to Redekers and found a nice recliner called the Beast. Yeah, that was
The
one
Beast.
That was one of my downfalls because it seems like once you sat down in that, about 5 minutes later, you were out cold.
Yeah, that was it. Huh?
That's all she wrote. So
you didn't shop local, Bob? What's the matter with you?
no, I couldn't find. Well, this is the only chair I could find that when you put the recliner all the way out, my feet didn't hang off the end of it.
That's a point. Fort Dodge needs a big and tall furniture store, I think, or in men's clothing store. It's we got a lot of bigger folks here.
Oh yeah.
And I know what you're talking about. You go to the local furniture store, sometimes they don't have the big boy furniture.
Yeah, and I got my chair, and wife buys things locally. I bought my truck local, so I mean, we spend a lot here, but every once in a while, you got to get something you're going to be comfortable with. So
you got to do it. What kind of truck you have?
I bought a GMC last year.
Did you? Brand new one?
I needed to get all over. I didn't realize when I got voted in, I was going to be on the CSS board. I'd be driving all over the countryside. So,
well, you get mileage, don't you? Don't they? Doesn't the county give you gas mileage?
yeah, I turn in every quarter for the mileage on it, but I think I'm getting ready to turn over 21,000 miles on it already.
Already,
So,
really?
Already.
That's a lot of miles.
Yes, it is. So
for 1 year. Normal's about 12,000.
Well, that's what the insurance company says they like to see you stick at, but that hasn't been the case here this year. So
I got a Toyota Camry 3 years ago, and I'm just now rolled 30,000 on it. I got on to Marion to see the kids, and that's just about it.
Mhm.
Anyway, what else is going on over at the county? Anything?
no, I'm gonna right after the first year, I'm gonna go visit my daughter down in Atlanta.
You said something about an earthquake in Atlanta. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, she texted me about 3:30 this morning and said, "I don't mean to wake you up, but my house just shook." So
Wow.
said a 4.4 magnitude earthquake hit there this morning. So haven't heard much more about it, and I'm sure she went to work unless I think they were having some snowstorms and that. So it got cold. Now they had an earthquake. Right after that tornado hit Marshalltown,
Yeah.
that same storm system made it over when she was living in Louisville, and they had tornadoes that were actually, she was driving by after the tornado went through and did a lot of damage over there. So she's gone from one extreme to the other, from tornadoes now to earthquakes. So I mean, what more could you ask for in 2018, huh?
Well, I'd think of something. I really would. I'd think of something.
For sure.
What does she do down there?
She's actually an HR with school down there now. So
Well,
one of the
I've-
colleges. So
I've driven through Atlanta many, many times in my big old truck. It's quite the city.
Yep.
It's quite the city. All right. Bob Thode's been our guest, Webster County Supervisor. We got anything else, Bob?
Oh, no questions. You don't have any questions for me?
How'd you get so damn good looking anyway?
I had great parents, I guess. So
Well, that settles that then. Okay. Bob Thode's been our guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Divine Intervention at AM 1400 KVFD, where Fort Dodge talk.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Do you ever get tired of watching bad things happen to people?
Sticking up for you when no one else will.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. 424 news, weather, and Father Patrick Boehm coming up as Divine Intervention continues.
pure brute strength. That's what you get with Midland hydraulic doors from P&R Entry Door. Midland doors are perfect for commercial and agricultural applications. When you choose a Midland garage door from P&R Entry Door, you can be confident you've chosen the toughest commercial door on the market. Whether you want a shop door for agriculture, an aviation hangar, or a commercial building, P&R Entry Door has what you need. For a free estimate, call 573-8883. P&R Entry Door, online at pnrentrydoors.com.
Flat Out Clean Janitorial Services now handles your residential cleaning. You've trusted them for commercial cleaning, and now you can trust them to do the same quality work in your home. Flat Out Clean will come to your home, clean your carpets, and refinish and wax your floors. Don't spend your hard-earned money on new carpet and flooring when all you really need is Flat Out Clean Janitorial Services. For a free estimate, find them on Facebook or call 570-9672. Flat Out Clean Janitorial Services, Fort Dodge.
Visiting Angels is America's choice in senior home care. We believe your loved ones should never have to give up living at home. Visiting Angels provides personal home care up to 24 hours per day, including meals and light housework. Ask about our dementia care at home. You'll select your professional caregiver. Look up visitingangels.com or call 877-374-LIVE. That's 877-374-LIVE.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in home care.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Dakota City and the Iowa DNR have issued a boil advisory after the malfunction of the treatment equipment at the Dakota City water treatment plant. Because of equipment failure, the chlorine used for disinfection has fallen below the recommended levels. In Dakota City, it is recommended to not drink the water without boiling it first. The boil order is in effect until further notice. Iowa Central Community College on Tuesday became the only community college in Iowa to offer a flat tuition rate to students. The plan was unanimously approved by the college's board of directors on Tuesday. Iowa Central President Dan Kinney says the change will save students over $1,000 on their tuition.
This is going to help more students take more hours at less dollars. So we're excited.
Students will also have the opportunity to check out Microsoft Surface Go tablet devices. The new tuition model will apply to students on all Iowa Central Community College campuses in Fort Dodge, Webster City, and Storm Lake. The new tuition rate will begin for the 2019-2020 school year. It was announced that the city of Fort Dodge has not received the $7.6 million build grant that would have helped pay for the proposed intermodal hub in downtown Fort Dodge. The grant was submitted to the U.S. Department of Transportation, but Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show that the grant was not approved. Fierk says the plan for the intermodal hub will move forward without the grant.
So we didn't get the build grant. But that doesn't mean that the project's dead. There's other funding sources that we can look at to make the project successful. I mean, we're not giving up. This isn't a one and done thing. We didn't get it, so we're not going to continue. We're going to still pursue the project.
The intermodal hub would connect the proposed Warden Plaza and Cultural and Recreation Center and serve as a parking garage. The total cost of the project is $11.5 million. Fierk says the other funding options include USDA grants or loans, among other options. Iowa's two U.S. senators parted ways in Tuesday's approval of a new 5-year farm bill. Joni Ernst voted in favor of the compromise bill, which now goes to the House. Chuck Grassley was one of just 13 Republicans voting against the bill.
It's the small and medium-sized farmers that needs the help from the government, not these big farmers and corporate farmers that we're going to end up helping the way this bill is written.
Grassley's fought for years to place hard caps on subsidies from the government, saying the largest ag corporations and even non-farmers are benefiting the most.
I'm more than just a little disappointed, especially when the impact of large farmers being allowed to manipulate the system is that young and beginning farmers face even larger hurdles.
Senator Joni Ernst served on the conference committee that drafted the compromise. In a prepared statement, she praised the bill as farmer-focused and said it includes her provisions to reform the Conservative Reserve Program and provide critical mental health support through the Farmers First Act. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn up 1 1/4 at 376 1/4. March up 1/2 penny at 385 1/4. May corn up 1/2 penny at 392 3/4. And July corn unchanged at 398 3/4. January soybeans up a nickel at 9.20. March up a nickel at 9.33 1/4. May up 4 3/4 at 9.45 3/4. July up 4 1/2 at 9.57 1/4. December wheat closed up 5 5.5 at $5.15 soybean meal up $1.90 a ton at $3.10.80. December live cattle up 75 cents at $119.12. February up 75 at $122.90. January feeder cattle up 27 cents at $147.57. March up 37 at $145.27. December lean hogs up 27 cents at $54.72. February up 50 cents at $65.70. From the farm desk, I am Dwayne Murley.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with highs around 32. Winds out of the south 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overcast skies again tonight 25. Daytime highs approaching 33. Tomorrow overcast skies. Temps above average Friday and Saturday with highs from the upper 30s to the low 40s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 32.
From the Fox Business Network, you might want to ask Santa for a pay raise this year because more than 6 in 10 workers are telling Bankrate.com they did not get a salary increase or a better paying job in 2018. Maybe that's why the same survey shows a quarter of all workers are planning to look for a new job next year. Stocks soaring on Wall Street Wednesday. The Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P 500 all closing higher on hopes of improving trade relations with China. Toyota's recalling about 65,000 vehicles in the United States. You can take a look at the various makes and models from the years 2002 to 2005. Now, apparently, airbag inflators could explode and shoot shrapnel at drivers and passengers. Some good news, meantime, if you still have holiday shopping to do, the government says the price of toys dropped around 8% in November, and the price for TVs fell around 8.5% for the month. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Connell McShane.
The worst commercial ever.
Say, Jan, as a fellow respected small business professional, I wonder, who do you use for commercial auto and business insurance?
Progressive, of course. They helped with a customized insurance solution for my busy florist company.
I'm so glad we had this chance encounter in this busy restaurant.
Yes, that conversation was brutal. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit progressivecommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. It's affiliated and third-party insurers.
Done right.
Ride the bus with the Dart and Midas trends.
Need to get somewhere in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt County? Midas will take you there. Live in Manson and need a ride to the grocery store? Midas will take you there. Live in Webster City and need a ride to the theater? Midas will take you there. Live in Rockwell City and need to get to the clinic? Midas will take you there. Call 800 Bus Ride. Midas, helping you get where you want to go. Your connection to Jefferson Lines.
Our job here is getting you there. Ride the bus.
Mom, Dad, I'm getting married.
That's wonderful, dear.
Congratulations. So have you decided on a date?
Yes, this Saturday.
What? Are you serious? We need to plan. There's so much to do.
What about the church? The flowers, music, food, inviting everyone?
You would not want to be faced with those hurried decisions then. Why do that to your family with your own final arrangements? I invite you to sit down with us at Gunderson's to pre-plan your funeral. Pre-planning allows you to make thoughtful decisions with a clear mind. Give us a call at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services, Fort Dodge.
Email phishing attacks cost businesses billions annually in real cash, data loss, and brand damage. Phishing emails are hard to detect because the messages appear to be legitimate to unsuspecting employees. Introducing Barracuda Fish Line, a groundbreaking cloud-based solution designed to help employees recognize sophisticated email phishing attacks through interactive training reinforced by continuous simulation. Transform your employees from a liability into a line of defense. Go to barracuda.com/PL to learn more.
Last year, you helped give hundreds of kids the best Christmas memory they may ever have, a shiny new bike. This year, we hope to bring a smile to even more little faces. Bikes for Tykes is back. We're collecting brand new bikes for less fortunate kids in Webster, Wright, Humboldt, Hamilton, and Pocahontas counties for Christmas. And we need your help again. Can you, your group or organization, or your business provide a bike for a Tyke? Now through December 20th. Drop off your new bikes or cash donations at Fort Dodge Ford or here at our studios. All bikes will be displayed in the showroom of Fort Dodge Ford until we distribute them to kids served by Upper Des Moines Opportunity. Bikes for Tykes is sponsored by R&J Material Handling, W&H Co-op, Ball Plumbing, Lakeshore Cyclery, Cactus Family Farms, and Fort Dodge Ford Toyota help give a child a memory that will last forever. A shiny new bike under the tree on Christmas morning. Bikes for Tykes. It's our Christmas wish on this Alpha Media station.
Divine Intervention at AM 1400 KVFD, where Fort Dodge talks.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
All right, here we go. AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We are going to tell the truth, make it matter. We're never going to be boring. If you'd like to join the program, please do 515-955-1400, or you can go to youtube.com and type in 1400 KVFD, and you'll be taken to a site where you can see and hear everything that's going on in this program, in this studio. And the quality, the audio and video quality is remarkably good. You can see Father Patrick Boehm here.
I'm waving at you right now.
There you go. Yeah, there's a camera up there. Go ahead and wave.
Yeah.
You know, Father Boehm and I usually talk about, as I do with Pastor Austin Hill, and Father Boehm was good enough to be on with Pastor Hill the other day. And we had a very, I didn't know if there was going to be any conflict, but there turned out to be zero conflict.
It was delightful.
There turned out to be a lot of agreement, and of course we didn't touch on the big issues that perhaps that separate Protestants from Catholics, like papal infallibility or papal authority and those sorts of things.
Sure,
that was nowhere.
Maybe we can get into that some other time.
Yes,
so we'll probably both come back on the program at some point. So.
Well, anyway,
look forward to it.
Over the weekend, I went up to Algona. There was a book signing up there.
Okay.
With Art Cullen had written a book on Storm Lake, your old hometown.
It is my hometown. I've known Art for a long time. My grandpa actually used to write for him, not as an employee, but sort of as a volunteer writer for the Storm Lake Times. So sure, I've known Art for a long time. He's a good man.
Well, Art worked up at Algona way long time ago as well. And I've read some of his Storm Lake Times editorials. He's very outspoken. I always thought Art was kind of a flake, frankly, just kind of your basic liberal flake.
Okay.
I really did.
Sure.
But he didn't come across that way at all. And in his book, I would recommend, by the way, Art Cullen won a Pulitzer Prize, which I thought was kind of a staged event. But I say that as if I'm trying to take something away from Art and his accomplishment. Not really. But I think there was a reason that Art won over some big names in journalism and big papers around the country. And Art, by the way, is his book evinces a real quality of writing and thinking.
Oh, sure. He's a very talented writer.
Yes.
And I will say this, because, I mean, I think I don't consider myself a conservative or a liberal.
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself first and foremost a Catholic and a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But suffice it to say, I don't think Art and I see eye to eye on all things political. We might see eye to eye on a few things here and there, but certainly not on everything. Regardless, I have a great deal of respect for the man. He's as you say, a good, gifted writer. He's a very gifted writer. I've spoken with him on a number of occasions. Nothing ever in any depth. I mean, but we know who each other is. We're acquainted. I think I did an interview with the Times when I was getting ordained as a priest. And as I said, my grandpa wrote a very popular column in the Times for, probably 25 years until he died.
Grandpa Boehm, or?
Yeah, my dad's dad. He wrote a column called The Cracker Barrel. And he basically just told stories of his own life, stories from when he was a Safeway manager and when he worked with Hy-Vee and when he, his time in the Army and in his service during World War II. And he just told these stories. And so he wrote this column, like I said, for 25 years probably until he died, I guess 3 years ago. And it was always one of the more popular columns in the Times, and to this day we get people that come up to us and say, "Oh, we loved your grandpa's stories." But anyway, I'm getting way off topic. Like I said, Art is a good man. We don't necessarily see eye to eye, but he's a good man. He's a gifted writer, and he has a real love for Storm Lake.
Yeah.
A real love for Storm Lake.
I have the same experience. People often ask me if I'm liberal, conservative, Republican, or Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
because I'm very conservative, perhaps, on social issues, as the church was
Sure.
and still is, and they're very liberal on worker rights and supportive unions and those sort of things.
Exactly.
So I always tell them I'm not a liberal or conservative. I'm a Catholic.
Amen.
And some of them know. Some of them know what that means. You know?
Amen. No, I am too, and I always take great pride when people don't know my political affiliation, because I am pro-life when it comes to abortion.
Mm-hmm.
I am, pro-immigrant rights, immigrants' rights, just as two different things, which, okay, well, one of those is a conservative issue, one of those is a liberal issue. I'm like, no, actually, both are human rights issues. And I'm going to stand up for the dignity of the human person.
After I had to leave early, and I regret I had to leave the Algona Publishing Company a little early. That's where Art Cullen was having his book signing, and then he was reading some chapters or some passages out of his book, and he was kind of explaining a little bit, giving a little depth as to these passages. But I couldn't stay. I wanted to go over and visit my mom, who still lives there in Algona, and then I wanted to get home and get to bed here in Fort Dodge. So I stopped.
Blame you.
So I stopped. I stopped and see my mom, and we sat and talked, and there was I talked with my mom about the ongoing controversies in the Catholic Church, and she more than most Catholics of her generation have been wounded by what they've seen somehow, or not. They have been wounded by what they've seen coming from the Catholic Church, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And
agreed.
I didn't ask her this question. It would never occur to me that she would ever stop being a Catholic. But on my way out of the door, she gave me the diocesan newspaper, and the topic of what's the name of the paper? I forgot already.
The paper is known as the Globe.
The Globe.
So the Catholic Globe is the official newspaper of the Diocese of Sioux City.
Anyway, the headline in the Globe was why I'm still a Catholic.
Yeah.
And it was a good piece. And there are those, the theme of the article, I don't know if you saw it or not.
I did.
Okay.
Yep.
The theme of the article seemed to me that this is an extraordinarily rough patch that we're going through.
It is.
But we have to have faith in the church, which I understand that argument. That's going to be an argument that any writer about this topic is going to make.
Sure.
But I guess I should ask your attitude toward this article more than mine. I think yours is going to carry a little bit more weight.
Well, I saw the article. I have to confess I did not read the article.
Okay. All right.
Only because, frankly, I don't need to be convinced to stay in the church. I'm going to stay here. And so it got put down on my list of things to do, shall we say. I'm not saying that it's not a good article. I certainly encourage people to read it, but for where I was at and what I need to do, it just didn't make my top 10 list of tasks for that day. But in any event, let me just say this. I can tell people why I stay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you that.
All right.
In fact, I preached about this couple months ago, and that homily is available on my own Facebook page if people want to go to it and see it. Not that I'm trying to push traffic to my Facebook page.
No.
But it's there. In any event, why do I stay? I stay because I have come to believe and be convinced in the veracity of, first of all, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That, God is real. God exists. And I have become to be convinced that in the fullness of time, the second person of the Trinity, Jesus Christ, took on human flesh. This isn't, and I believe with all my heart, this is not just a story. This really happened. Like what we're going to celebrate in a couple of weeks at Christmas is not merely a metaphor. It's not a nice fairy tale. It really, truly, authentically happened that the Son of God, at a very specific moment in time, was born into, the little backwoods country of Bethlehem. And so I believe that with all of my heart, and I believe his words, because if he is God, if he is who he claims to be, and I believe that with all of my heart, I've studied it, I've researched it, I have looked at and heard all the arguments why it may not be true. Believe me, I have looked at every single argument of why Christ and the claim that is made about Christianity that he is the Son of God is false. I've looked at every one of them, and none of them hold up. If you really dig into it, none of the arguments against him hold up. And so I have come to believe and be convinced that it's all true. So as a result, I had to start looking at his words, because if he is God, then it would follow and make sense that his words are true, because truth cannot contradict itself. And so if he is truth, as he claims to be, then it follows that what he says is true. And so I looked at, okay, well, what does he say? Well, among other things, he says, I'm going to build a church. Matthew 16. He says, I'm going to build this church on the apostles and on Peter. Again, Matthew 16, Matthew 18. He says, I'm going to nourish you with my body and blood in the Eucharist. John 6, 1 Corinthians 10 and 11. Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the institution accounts of the Last Supper. He says, to his apostles, go and teach all nations. He says, baptize them, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And so I had to just kind of start asking myself and looking, okay, well, where is this? Where do I find this? And the answer that I always had to come back to, and it's not to knock my Protestant brethren in any way, shape, or form, but the answer that I always had to come back to is the Catholic Church, that it's the one church that Jesus established in Scripture. And I think, if you look historically, this isn't, to stand up here and beat the drum about, hey, I come and be Catholic, but you have me on as a Catholic priest, and so that's what I'm going to talk about.
That's fine. I please continue, but I do just want to interject.
By all means.
First of all, I sent you a friend request on your Facebook page quite a long time ago, and you haven't responded, which I'm a little offended by. But
I'm sorry.
I'll hear your confession later.
Okay. I will make sure I respond to that here in a little bit. I apologize. I didn't even realize that.
But I have heard you speak many times, and you and Pastor Hill,
you bet,
on Monday were in agreement on church history and your belief and love of God and the importance of religious participation. The question I'm going to ask, if we're talking about why I stay a Catholic, and I know you're a Catholic priest, why I stay a Catholic, is there something about the Catholic Church in your mind that the Protestant churches don't offer? Now, obviously, that's the case, or you wouldn't be a Catholic priest.
It is. Yeah, it is.
If we can find these other things in other churches, why stay a Catholic?
Okay. Well, there's two questions there.
Yes, there is.
And so I'm going to answer the first one by going back to what Pastor Hill and I kind of wrapped up with at the very end of our time on Monday. And so if your listeners happen to hear that, or maybe if it's online somewhere, I don't know, they could go back and listen. But he and I wrapped up by almost just barely touching on the first thing that we would disagree on. And it's the process of sanctification. Okay. And so I don't want to presume to speak on his behalf or on behalf of any of my Protestant brothers and sisters. And so I'm not going to talk about, well, in the Protestant methodology, this is how you grow in holiness. I will talk about it from a Catholic perspective. And just, I know, and your listeners should know, that this will be different than what my Protestant brethren would say. For a Catholic, the process of sanctification always begins and ends with the life of the sacraments, because we are body and soul. Okay, it's not just my soul and God. My body has a role to play in that, and so God communicates Himself to us in a way that we can receive it. And so, for instance, rather than just say, "Hey, I want to be united with you," okay, that's all well and good. How do I do that? He, as a Catholic, we believe, gives us the means to do this, to be united with Him. And so we are first united to Him through baptism. We see this throughout the New Testament. The example par excellence is in Acts of the Apostles, when Philip encounters the Ethiopian eunuch and he proclaims the gospel to him, and the Ethiopian eunuch says, "Hey, I want to be baptized." And so from the very beginning of the church, the nascent church, baptism is central. From there, it progresses to being literally nourished and fed with Christ's body and blood. This is a claim that is unique to the Catholic Church, that we believe that the Eucharist, the communion that we share in, literally, not just metaphorically or figuratively, but literally is the body and blood of Jesus Christ. And so people say, okay, well, where does that come from? Right? Where does that come from? Well, it comes from John chapter 6. Okay, the 6th chapter of John's gospel, where Jesus says over and over and over and over and over again, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life within you. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I remain in him and he remains in me. There's a lot of symbolism there, tying into things from the Old Testament that we probably don't really necessarily have time to get into. But suffice it to say, for the time being, that it's through our reception of grace, which is communicated in the sacraments, that we grow in holiness. And so the question that I ask in my own mind is, well, how do I receive grace? How do I receive the sacraments? Well, the sacraments are mediated to us through the church. And so it's not that I look at the church and I say, well, the church. In fact, God has some pretty harsh words for the Israelites when they did that. And I can't remember if it's Ezekiel or Jeremiah, but he critiques them for saying, you people, they just sit there and say the temple, the temple, the temple of the Lord. In other words, you're placing your own salvation in the fact that you worship in the temple, but you turn around as soon as you leave and deny everything that you're worshiping by the way you live your life. God says, I'm not going to tolerate that. And again, I can't remember if it's Jeremiah or Ezekiel. It's one of the two. Transition that to the New Testament, and basically where I'm coming from today. I'm not suggesting that simply because someone is in the church, that person is holy. What I am suggesting is that the church, because of how Jesus set things up in the New Testament, in building the church on the apostles and on Peter, and giving the sacraments through the church, that through the church, sanctification is mediated to us. It's given to us through our reception of sacramental grace, which Christ always communicates. So there's a lot there. And I don't even remember what your second question was. I think I kind of answered it. I think I kind of answered both of them. But basically it comes down to this. Sanctification, holiness, comes through grace. Grace comes through the church. And we see this in the New Testament. And so the question then becomes, well, where's the church? Which church is it?
Yeah, that was actually my second question.
Okay. And so this is basically my history
Why
lesson.
Catholicism.
Right, exactly. So this is my history lesson. And again, this is not in any way, shape, or form to ridicule or to criticize my Protestant brothers and sisters. Not at all.
I know. Well, there's differences in the churches.
Exactly.
It's okay.
My aunt, whom I love, is a Presbyterian minister. In fact, she knows the Hills from their time together. They're friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did mention that
exactly.
the other day, didn't you?
Yeah. So anyway, I have a love in my heart for my Protestant brothers and sisters. But why the Catholic Church? Why do I stay there?
Yes.
Well, basically, I look at history and I say, okay, well, let's just go through each of the Christian communities. Because very clearly, Jesus does establish a church in the New Testament. Matthew 16:18, you're Peter, on this rock I will what? Build my church. Okay, it's very clear in the New Testament. And so if Jesus established a church, I just go through and I look at him. Okay, well, who started the Lutheran Church? Martin Luther. Why you have the name. Who started the Methodist Church? John Wesley.
Well, why did they start? What was the reason for the Protestant
Well, exactly.
Reformation?
And I'll get to that in just a second. But just going through, okay, who started the Presbyterian Church, which is Calvinist. So John Calvin. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, more commonly known as the Mormons, guy named John Smith. Okay. Zwingli started the Anabaptist movement, which has kind of transitioned into what we think of as the Amish people today. And so I kind of go through and look at these. Another one, the Anglicans, which the American version of the Anglican Church would be the Episcopalians. People might be more familiar with our Episcopalian brethren. Well,
or Congregationalists are very close together.
That was started by King Henry VIII. Okay. And so I look at this and I say, okay, well, none of these were started by Jesus. So which one was started by Jesus? And that's what I have to come back to. And if you take the timeline all the way back, there's nowhere on that timeline that the Catholic Church breaks away from it. And so it's always a tough question to answer, because my fear is always that people are going to hear what I'm saying and think like, gosh, this guy is so arrogant. This guy is just a total jerk. This guy thinks everybody else is inferior. No, I'm not saying that at all. Rather, what I'm saying is that I really believe with all my heart that Jesus started a church and that it exists today and you can find it. And this isn't to say that my Protestant brothers and sisters are somehow inferior. It's to say that that church, I believe with all my heart, exists in the Catholic Church.
Well, I do want to bring this up.
Sure.
As in the time,
Sorry, I was rambling.
No. You are not rambling. No. You are answering the question
I'm
thoroughly.
trying.
This is a you and I don't talk about light things.
No, sir. We never have.
So the question is, going back, you mentioned the Reformation, the early Protestant reformers, Calvin and certainly Luther. Luther broke away from the Catholic Church because the church was selling indulgences.
That is right.
And he believed that the Catholic Church was in error, and some believe the church is in error today.
Sure.
And the church has been resistant to change. So again, is the church in error as it was there a need in your mind for the Reformation? And is there a need? And should people consider? Why should people consider staying in the Catholic Church today with the church's problem?
Yeah. No, all good questions. So let me kind of address one of these first. Was the Reformation needed? I would say yes and no. Okay. Yes, the church is always in need of renewal and in need of reform. So Bishop Nicholas, the bishop here in the Diocese of Sioux City, he wrote a pastoral letter called Ecclesia Semper Reformanda. In other words, the church is always in need of reform, or it is always in need of renewal. Okay, is the better translation. The church is always in need of renewal. And so, yes, we always need to be purifying ourselves. I mean, absolutely. The garbage that is going on in the hierarchy of our church right now regarding the cover-up of sexual abuse needs to be cleansed. And I have absolutely no qualm saying that publicly. It needs to be cleansed. There needs to be a renewal there. You are absolutely right that Luther had a big problem with the selling of indulgences, as do I, as does the church. Okay, there's really no justification as to why individual bishops and priests were selling indulgences and saying
we should define the indulgences. Somebody may not know what
yeah, it's a good point. Okay. An indulgence is a remission of temporal punishment due to sin. Okay, what does that mean? Well, in the Catholic understanding of sin, it's sort of like breaking a window. Okay, and if I break the window in your office, I can say I'm sorry and you could forgive me, but I would still have a moral obligation to pay to fix the window. And so when we sin, we can say that we're sorry to God and he forgives us, but there's still an obligation out of justice to make up for the wrong that we've done. And so if we do that in this life, if we can do that in this life, all the better, but oftentimes we can't. And so this sin that clings to our soul, even if we've been forgiven of it, but it still clings to us. It has an effect on us. God needs to purify that. And so this is where the Catholic Church's belief in purgatory comes from. I can show you in the Bible 2 references to purgatory, but that's a different topic for another day. But regardless, an indulgence is through the merits of Christ, and again, the mediation of the church and the merits of the saints, okay, a removal of time in purgatory. And so how do you get these? And you can apply them to yourself or to other people in Catholic theology. You get them through praying with Scripture, through spending time in a church in prayer, through going on pilgrimage somewhere, through praying the rosary, through praying the Stations of the Cross and meditating upon Christ's passion. There's hundreds of different ways you can do these. In the Middle Ages, the Middle Ages, basically, they started the practice of selling these to raise money to build new churches. Well, Martin Luther very rightly said, this is wrong. You're discriminating against the poor. This is wrong. God's grace and mercy is not for sale. Well, he was absolutely right about that. 100%. And I have no problem saying that. The problem or the error that Luther fell into as a result of that is this, though, I would say. Simply because he found a practice incorrect. And I could probably point to a dozen practices in the church today that I'd like to change that I think are incorrect. But the teaching behind it is not. And I think that's the error that he fell into. There's no problem with the idea of indulgences. The idea is that somehow God's grace and mercy is for sale. And so I think history would have led us to a very different point had Luther simply said at the beginning of this process what he said at the very end of his life, which was I set out to reform the papacy, and instead I've made 1,000 popes or something along those lines. And he simply said, look, I just want to reform this. I want renewal. Then perhaps the Reformation wouldn't have happened and we would all still be one. And granted, like Pastor Hill and I said the other day, there's much more that unites us than divides us. But we also have to acknowledge that there are some things that divide. There are. That's just the truth of the matter. That's the reality.
Yes, there are. Gosh, I've been listening to you intently, and we've run out of time.
I'm sorry. I keep going. I keep
that's
going
quite
and
all
going.
right. That's
like the Energizer Bunny.
People listen to me. People don't want to listen to me when you're on. They really don't.
I doubt that.
Father Patrick Boehm, thank you so much.
You betcha.
And we look forward to seeing you next week. It's 5:00 in the afternoon. News is next. KVFD Fort Dodge.
If you're into cars or just want to learn a thing or two, tune in every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 for the Under the Hood Car Show on AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Prison for a president's attorney. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. Michael Cohen, President Trump's former personal attorney, sentenced today to prison.
Michael Cohen has been sentenced to 36 months in prison for crimes including hush money payments that prosecutors say the president ordered. The judge sentenced him to 2 months for lying to Congress as well. That'll be served concurrently to that 36-month sentence. Federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York had asked the judge to give Michael Cohen some substantial prison time. Federal sentencing guidelines said he could have gotten around 4 years in prison. He also admitted misleading Congress about a Trump real estate project in Moscow and orchestrating those prohibited payments to 2 women who said they had affairs with the president.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. No federal prosecution for the National Enquirer's parent company, which admits it paid a model $150,000 to suppress her story about having an affair with President Trump before he became a candidate. The company must cooperate with prosecutors in any investigation. The president denies those affairs. President Trump still silent on Cohen's sentence, but taking to Twitter earlier today to promote border security.
A day after a testy meeting with Democratic leaders in the Oval Office, President Trump tweeting, "We are going to strengthen our borders even more. Chuck and Nancy must give us the votes to get additional border security." The president telling both Schumer and Pelosi that he'd be proud to shut down the government to get what he wants.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. British Prime Minister Theresa May winning a confidence vote by Conservative Party lawmakers that could have ended her leadership role. May discussing her renewed mission.
Delivering the Brexit that people voted for, bringing the country back together, and building a country that truly works for everyone.
She'll keep her job as party leader and prime minister while working to win approval for a plan for the UK to leave the European Union. This is Fox News.
It's the holiday sales event at Ford. It's a big deal, and we're busy making preparations to get you the best deals of the year. Because unlike Santa's presents, ours don't just magically appear. At Ford, ours are built in real factories, where pickup trucks come with best-in-class towing and payload, where SUVs are built with available features like terrain management and driver assist technologies, and where every bolt, stitch, and line of code is tested and tested again. But you don't have to write Santa a letter to get these presents. Naughty or nice, just come see your Ford dealer during our holiday sales event for our best offers of the year. Ford, built for the holidays. Built Ford proud.
Best-in-class towing and payload when properly configured. Classes light-duty pickups under 8,500 pounds GVWR based on Ford segmentation.
Poll showing some
your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagon with the KVFD Afternoon News. Dakota City and the Iowa DNR have issued a boil advisory after the malfunction of the treatment equipment at the Dakota City water treatment plant. Because of equipment failure, the chlorine used for disinfection has fallen below the recommended levels. In Dakota City, it is recommended to not drink the water without boiling it first. The boil order is in effect until further notice. Iowa Central Community College on Tuesday became the only community college in Iowa to offer a flat tuition rate to students. The plan was unanimously approved by the college's board of directors on Tuesday. Iowa Central President Dan Kinney says the change will save students over $1,000 on their tuition.
This is going to help more students take more hours at less dollars. So we're excited.
Students will also have the opportunity to check out Microsoft Surface Go tablet devices. The new tuition model will apply to students on all Iowa Central Community College campuses in Fort Dodge, Webster City, and Storm Lake. The new tuition rate will begin for the 2019-2020 school year. It was announced that the city of Fort Dodge has not received the $7.6 million build grant that would have helped pay for the proposed intermodal hub in downtown Fort Dodge. The grant was submitted to the U.S. Department of Transportation, but Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show that the grant was not approved. Fierk says the plan for the intermodal hub will move forward without the grant.
So we didn't get the build grant. But that doesn't mean that the project's dead. There's other funding sources that we can look at to make the project successful. I mean, we're not giving up. This isn't a one and done thing. We didn't get it, so we're not going to continue. We're going to still pursue the project.
The intermodal hub would connect the proposed Warden Plaza and Cultural and Recreation Center and serve as a parking garage. The total cost of the project is $11.5 million. Fierk says the other funding options include USDA grants or loans, among other options. Iowa's two U.S. senators parted ways in Tuesday's approval of a new 5-year farm bill. Joni Ernst voted in favor of the compromise bill, which now goes to the House. Chuck Grassley was one of just 13 Republicans voting against the bill.
It's the small and medium-sized farmers that needs the help from the government, not these big farmers and corporate farmers that we're going to end up helping the way this bill is written.
Grassley's fought for years to place hard caps on subsidies from the government, saying the largest ag corporations and even non-farmers are benefiting the most.
I'm more than just a little disappointed, especially when the impact of large farmers being allowed to manipulate the system is that young and beginning farmers face even larger hurdles.
Senator Joni Ernst served on the conference committee that drafted the compromise. In a prepared statement, she praised the bill as farmer-focused and said it includes her provisions to reform the Conservative Reserve Program and provide critical mental health support through the Farmers First Act. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Cloudy skies tonight with lows around.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. Joining me on the air this hour, at the bottom of the hour, will be our own Anthony O'Neill, Ramsey personality. And so if you've got questions about college agers, or you are a college ager or high school ager, got questions for Anthony, he'll be here, but he'll also just be answering financial questions with me. So whatever you got for Anthony, you can load up the phones. The phone number is 888-825-5225. Ilya starts off this hour in Portland, Oregon. Hi, Ilya. How are you?
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
Awesome. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, sir. Quick question. So we're a growing family, got 3 kids. I'm 31. My wife's 28. We currently own a house out in Southeast Portland, free and clear. The idea here is it's a 2-bedroom house. So it's getting a little small for us. Question with regards to we have some property here. We've got about 3/4 acre lot, and we can partition it or subdivide it to make it buildable. Either we our dilemma right now, it's either do we subdivide and build a house in the back, or subdivide and sell both. We have about $100,000 saved up cash.
Mm-hmm.
And the question being is the current house would probably sell in the market right around $400 right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we subdivided it off and made it, small and had the lot in the back,
mm-hmm.
probably half-acre lot, it would probably bring in closer to about $550
mm-hmm.
Between the lot and the house. Our kids are 4, 3, and 1. So we're busy, and the kids they're going to need some space here coming up. So the question being is, what direction would you go if you were in our shoes?
I would subdivide it and sell both. I would not sell the vacant lot after subdivision prior to selling the house. Meaning, I'd put them both up for sale, but or I'd put the house up for sale, and with or without the second lot, so that the buyer of the home can choose to include the lot. You see what I'm saying? But if you sell off that second lot, it might be that you ran off a buyer that wanted a bigger lot or wanted a bigger situation. But they have to pay full price to get both. They have to pay the lot price plus the other. But so we put what's the value of the lot after subdivision, do you think?
Value of the lot would probably be between about $150,000 to $170,000.
Okay. All right. And so if it's 150, then it sounds like the house is 350. Right.
Around there, yes.
If after subdivision. And so put the house on the market for 350 or 500 with the lot. If it sells for 350, then put the lot up for sale.
But do go through with the